This is 5 Live Formula One with Jenny Gow.
Hello and welcome to our coverage of the Dutch Grand Prix. 10 minutes to go. The klaxon just rung out here at the Dutch Grand Prix, because the whole of Zandvoort has poured in. The whole, it feels like, of the Netherlands has poured into this beautiful seaside circuit. It's at 4.2 kilometers. They'll have to do 72 laps of it. And the whole time, Max Verstappen, the man in pole position, will be cheered on by over 105,000 people, most of them dressed in orange, who all want their man to win. The clouds just come over. It's getting a little bit overcast here. We've had bright sunshine for the whole of the weekend, but now the temperatures just dip down a little. And I look out, the safety car in front of me, the 5 green, well, that's actually 10 red lights in the gantry hanging over this amazing racetrack, and then just 318 meters till this banked, steeped corner which goes round to the right. Jack Nicholls is our lead commentator. It's a treat to have F1 back here, isn't it?
Yeah, and to be honest, when they announced it, I thought they were a bit mad, really. This circuit opened in 1948, and when the news came through that Zandvoort would be hosting a Grand Prix again, I thought, well, what are they doing? I've come here and seen Formula 3 races. There's a famous Formula 3 race here for many years with much smaller cars. I did a lot of GT racing here, and it's kind of, those cars have outgrown this track, so I never thought Formula 1 would work here, but they've done an unbelievable job. All the temporary grandstands everywhere. There's a temporary building that they kind of put on top of the original pit building. They've got room for over 100,000 people, and even the infrastructure, there's like one road in and out of Zandvoort. It's like going to a sort of small coastal town in the UK where you just have one road in and one road out. You know what that gets like on a bank holiday. Well,
Jack,
this is what it's like, but it's unbelievable, and they've pulled it off.
I'm just going to nip in because Ross Brawn is alongside me. Ross, what a great circuit to be back at. You must be delighted with the way this has been received, the crowds, everything to do with this weekend.
Well, of course I raced here in the early days before we modified the circuit, and what they've done with the banking and everything's been sensational. And we just had this very, in a way, fortunate set of events. Max, the crowd, the Orange Army. We've got some great cars now which seem to be able to race each other, so everything's just come together. Listen to it, it's amazing.
Really, I have to describe the scene, because everybody who is in this grandstand to the left of the track, dressed in orange, they all now are singing one of the traditional Dutch songs, and they've got blue flags, then the white flags, then the red flags. It is such a scene. It takes you back, doesn't it, to a different time in Formula One and sport, Ross?
Well, the last time I saw this passion, to be honest, was with Michael in Germany, in Hockenheim. I've never seen that since then, and it's just beautiful to see, so we're so happy.
We really are. Ross, I'll let you go because I have to go and get off the grid in just a second. Thank you so much. So the man in pole position, the man they're all singing for at the moment in this rapturous, amazing voice, is Max Verstappen. Bijske Visser, W Series driver, is in our commentary box as well. Bijske, this is totally leaving me almost speechless. It's an incredible thing to witness.
Yeah, it's incredible. The whole of Netherlands is been looking forward to this race for weeks, and yeah, seeing all the grandstands filled with orange and now even holding up the flag is something very, very cool.
Does it? I mean, it's bringing my goosebumps, and the hairs on my arms are standing up. You're from this country. It must mean even more to you.
Yeah, I wish I was racing this weekend, but yeah, just being here and witnessing this is also something very special.
Really is. Let me go through the grid very quickly for you. It's Verstappen from Leclerc, then it's Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton. That's your top 4. I'll walk back a little bit more. It's Perez next up, followed by Russell, Norris, Mick Schumacher qualifying 8th position. Did a really good job yesterday. Then it's Tsunoda and Stroll, the top 10. Gasly, Ocon, Alonso, Zhou, Albon, Bottas, Magnussen, Ricciardo, Vettel and Latifi in the Williams bringing up the rear. And Jack, it is a short dash down to turn 1. Just describe this track, because it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And the run towards the first corner is fairly short, but it's a very wide first corner, and you can make moves on the outside and the inside. In fact, in all but one of the support series, the driver in the pole position hasn't held the lead at the end of the first corner. So there is a bit of a chance for Charles Leclerc to get involved, because even if he's on the outside into the first corner, called Tarzan, then you are able to hang it on around the outside and move up places. Then you go into the really banked left-hander at turn 3 called Hugenholtz, named after the man who designed this race circuit, and that is a really unique corner in Formula 1 as well. Then you're into the fast sweepers that take you down towards Schijfvlak, the most daunting corner on the circuit at turn 7. Then there's a more technical sequence, a slow chicane at turns 11 and 12, where we might see some overtaking. And then you come out through another banked corner, Arie Luijendijk, named after the Dutch racer who won the 1990 and the 1997 Indy 500. And there's a big, long, extended drag reduction system zone this weekend as well. So we should possibly be getting some overtaking down the start-finish straight. But it's very short, second shortest lap of the season. Only Monaco is shorter, but, you know, small packages or whatever that saying is.
Don't go there. Do not go there. But it is small and perfectly formed, I feel. 72 laps await our drivers. 4 minutes until the formation lap gets underway. They've tried to stop the flares. They've taken about 200 out of people's bags so far.
They were really getting stuck into my bag earlier. I don't know if I look like I have.
They did not?
No, they did. I was the last few days, you know, they check your bag. This morning, she wanted every little compartment open. I don't know if I look like someone who's brought flares to a racetrack, but...
Were you wearing flares? Yeah. Therefore, they thought you should have flares? Is that the telltale sign? I think not. So, hands being clapped together, then raised in the air in time with We Will Rock You. As we get closer to this tremendous Grand Prix, we're hoping for a real battle. The championship, okay, Verstappen may well have one hand on that trophy with a 93-point lead over Perez, a 98-point lead over Charles Leclerc, but each race can still be totally spectacular as they sing We Will Rock You. Can only mean one thing. Time to introduce our next panelist. It is Scott Mitchell-Malm from Race.com. Scott, I keep saying how amazing this atmosphere is, and then they just raise it to another notch. It's a great place to come.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. I think like what we have in Formula 1 at the moment is a few countries now that are really getting behind their driver, and that partisan support, it just offers something special. You think Mexico and how they react to Sergio Perez, obviously Lewis Hamilton's fans in the British Grand Prix, but this is special. I think this is another level.
Just talk to me a little bit about the championship battle, because it seems like, you know, 216 points maximum available, and Max could go over a 100-point lead today. But there's still plenty of excitement and drama, isn't there, Scott, to be had in this championship?
I think the main thing is that race by race we can still have quite an exciting narrative, and the good thing about someone like Max is not someone who plays percentages. He doesn't go for the championship, manage the championship. He wants to win every single Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc wants to win as many Grand Prix as he can to the end of the year. So race by race, anything can happen. Everything's up for grabs.
Weitske Visser, tell me what to look out for on the opening lap, because we've got a really hot top 6 on the grid, haven't we, with Verstappen, Leclerc, Sainz, Hamilton, Perez and Russell.
Yeah, so the start will be important, and I guess through turn 1 you can go side by side, but then we saw in F2 and F3 as well, if you're not fully alongside you get pushed wide and lose a lot of spots. So yeah, you really have to be careful of your position, and even through turn 3 in the Hugenholtz corner with the banking, you can try to go through the inside and try to slot in front, but then because it's so off camera out of turn 2, there's a risk of losing the rear as well. So yeah, it's tricky to decide where to go.
That's what we like, a little bit of trickiness, a little bit of jeopardy. Max Verstappen fans turning their backs a little bit to the actual grid at the moment, just to show the lion on the capes that they've all been given out. Now they turn around and put their eyes down towards the cars as they get ready to go. So our commentary team, Scott Mitchell-Malm, Weitske Visser and Jack Nicholls.
And we are just a minute away from the formation lap getting underway at the Dutch Grand Prix. The next race in the Formula 1 World Championship. We're into a triple header. Spa last weekend, the 14th race of the season. This, the 15th. Then the Italian Grand Prix next week is the 16th. 22 to come. The championship surely will be wrapped up by Verstappen at one of those, but we have still got battles for race victories, and how Verstappen would love to win this Grand Prix for pole position, but also how Ferrari would love to win it as well. To win in the heartland of Max Verstappen would be something, I think, for Charles Leclerc. The cars are getting ready to pull away. Verstappen on a brand new set of soft tyres. The top 3 are on softs. Hamilton in the 4th place will start on the medium tyre. Perez in 5th will be on the softs, and then Russell, Norris and Schumacher on the mediums as well. It's 2 o'clock, it's time for the Dutch Grand Prix. So as the cars make their way around on the formation lap, this is the grid. Max Verstappen is on pole position, the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc alongside him. Carlos Sainz is third in the other Ferrari, with Lewis Hamilton fourth for Mercedes. Fifth is Sergio Perez in the Red Bull. Sixth is George Russell. Seventh is Lando Norris. Mick Schumacher with a strong qualifying in eighth. Yuki Tsunoda also with a strong qualifying in ninth. Equally impressive was Lance Stroll in 10th place, Gasly in 11th, Ocon in 12th, Alonso 13th, Joe in 14th ahead of Alex Albon in 15th, Bottas, Ricciardo, Magnussen, Vettel and Latifi, the 20 drivers. The grandstands all the way around this circuit, they are all on their feet, they are all waving their arms in the air as Verstappen comes by on this formation lap. Maybe Beitske, this is his last opportunity to kind of soak it all in a little bit, the atmosphere.
Yeah, he will definitely be looking around and seeing everyone in orange now, but now that he's getting towards the start of the grid, he will start to focus on like getting his steering wheel settings all right and getting in the zone, and during the race he will be focusing more on the track.
Scott, how aggressive does Leclerc need to be on this opening lap if he wants to win the race?
Well, I think we know that track position is so important here. It's so difficult to overtake, but that start is a great opportunity, and you were talking before about the opportunity that turn one offers here. Get it done at turn one, you can control the race. Don't get it done at turn one, and you're going to be staring at the back of that Red Bull for quite a long time.
Absolutely. So 305,000 fans here over the course of the weekend, and Verstappen, bit of a lock-up there as he tried to get a bit of temperature in the brakes, floored the throttle, and then hit the brakes and had a little bit of a lock-up on the soft tyre, but he was going at fairly low speed, so hopefully that won't have damaged the tyre too much, and he's now, Jenny Gao, pulling up into pole position.
He certainly is just in front of me. Obviously, the fans applauding on their feet. Can't wait for this race to begin. It's a new set of soft tyres for Verstappen. Leclerc and Sainz both have used soft tyres fitted to their cars.
Okay, so Verstappen will be on pole, Leclerc alongside him, Sainz in third, Hamilton fourth, Perez fifth, Russell, Norris, Schumacher, Tsunoda and Lance Stroll are the rest of the top 10. And everybody in the grandstands now is on their feet with their smartphones out, most of them ready to record the start of this Grand Prix as the nerves begin to rise. 72 laps will take about an hour and a half, and it will be uninterrupted here on 5 Live. Pole position for Max Verstappen. Leclerc is second, Sainz is third, Hamilton is fourth. Max Verstappen has just taken the lead and held the lead coming down into the first corner. He got a very good getaway and manages to hold off Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. Leclerc is in second, Sainz is in third. Hamilton tried to attack Sainz to get him into third place, wasn't able to pull it off. Lando Norris has managed to get ahead of George Russell as well, so that was a good start from him. Stroll has made a few places up as well. He's managed to get into the mix, but Max Verstappen holds the lead in the Red Bull. Leclerc second, Carlos Sainz in third, Hamilton in fourth. But Beitske the W Series racer who's alongside me, was a good start from Verstappen. Leclerc was quite close.
Yeah, he got on the line really well, and yeah, Leclerc just didn't get quite next to him enough to be able to go side by side, but I think Hamilton was quite lucky there not to lose the rear in turn one, touching Sainz.
Verstappen leads, Leclerc second, Sainz third. Full commentary on Sports Extracon. So Verstappen leading, Leclerc in second, Sainz third, Hamilton fourth, Perez fifth, Norris is sixth, and there's a look from Joe. Well, he looked to the inside of the Alpine, but then he's now under pressure from Kevin Magnussen. They go wheel to wheel through the chicane, and they manage to all get through there safely. Joe in 14th position, sparks flying up from Verstappen's car as he comes down the start-finish straight. His lead is 0.7 of a second at the end of the first lap as the crowd cheer him into turn one. It's 1.8 seconds back to Sainz in third. On the attack here is Fernando Alonso, trying to get around the outside of Pierre Gasly. Alonso in 13th place, Gasly in 12th, Tsunoda in 11th, so they're all queued up behind Tsunoda at the moment. Also on the attack is Alex Albon, trying to get ahead of Magnussen, and there's contact. Magnussen's off through the gravel, taps the wall, spins back across the circuit, manages to hold it together, but drops to the back of the field. Might have damage on the left rear suspension because he hit the wall reasonably hard there, did Magnussen. We're just getting a replay of it. Albon tried to get up the inside into turn two. It was quite a big hit on the wall there, Beitske.
Yeah, I think he definitely has some damage on the left rear there. That's definitely not straight anymore, but let's see if it's still drivable.
Scott, Max is not escaping here from Leclerc.
No, Leclerc is going with him. He obviously failed to do what he needed to do at the start in terms of getting ahead, but he's chasing him quite nicely. They've gapped Sainz a little bit, and actually Hamilton seems to be sticking with Sainz a relatively decent amount. Hamilton, the best thing about his start is he stayed ahead of Perez. He's on the medium tyres, that gave him less grip off the line, but it is a short run to the first corner. As Bites mentioned, lucky not to lose the rear, but now they're sort of settling into the rhythm of this opening stint.
Lap 3 of 72 in the Dutch Grand Prix. Max Verstappen is leading, 1.1 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc, 2.2 seconds ahead of Carlos Sainz. Magnussen reporting on the radio that the car is okay after his contact with the barrier in the early stages. So Mercedes, Jenny, the only team of the front four anyway to have their cars on the medium tyres.
Yeah, really interesting, as everyone's gone on that soft tyre. We don't know what the degradation of that tyre is going to be like, the usage, how long the soft tyre is going to go, but the fact that Mercedes are doing something different to everybody else. They wouldn't have known that when they picked their tyres, but they are doing something different. It'll be interesting to see how far their drivers can go longer than those soft tyres. That's what we'll be looking for, to extend the stint past the soft tyre capabilities of around 25 laps max.
Verstappen leads the Grand Prix, a second ahead of Charles Leclerc in second place. It almost seemed, Beitske, that Hamilton kind of accidentally tried to pass Carlos Sainz.
It's always difficult to guess your braking point for turn one, because your arrival speed is very different compared to like on a fast lap, and also like it's quite sandy off the line. So I think Hamilton just had a different braking mark in his mind than Sainz did.
There's a bit of side-by-side contact between them, well, the front left of Hamilton into the right side pod of Carlos Sainz. Norris got a good start and managed to get ahead of George Russell, where he is currently still, and that gravelly sound you can hear is Magnussen going through it after, I think, a little tap from Alex Albon as they came into turn 2. Russell has managed to get Lando Norris down into turn 1 at Tarzan. Russell to the inside, and he has got through. Yellow flag out there. No, the track's now clear, so someone may be running wide briefly, but Verstappen leads the way, still 1 second ahead of Charles Leclerc. Then it is Sainz in third, Hamilton fourth, Perez in fifth, Russell in sixth, Norris, Stroll, Ocon and Schumacher, the top 10. Schumacher also started on the medium tyres. Alex Albon in 15th started on the medium tyres. Kevin Magnussen in 20th started on the medium tyres also, as Verstappen comes around the final corner at Arie Luyendyk, out across the line once more, and as they have done every single time, the Dutch fans on their feet waving him past. Lap 4 of 72. Leclerc's not getting dropped massively. He's not in DRS range, but he's still there or thereabouts.
Yeah, I think he tried to stay within the DRS, but he's just slightly out right now, so I think he just tries to stay here for now, see how the tyres hold on for the next couple laps, and then maybe towards the end of the stint try to get into the DRS again.
That was a much better lap from Leclerc. It was a personal best. He took a couple attempts out of Verstappen, who I think had opened the gap by about half a second on the previous lap, so that's important from Leclerc. If he's not going to be right within DRS range, he needs to stay within touching distance, then he can try and do some damage around the pit stops. At the gap he is now 1.3 seconds. He won't be killing the tyres too badly. Maybe he can control that, but that's just sort of stemmed a bit of the damage that Verstappen was looking to do in those opening few laps.
He's actually done the fastest first sector of the race so far, Charles Leclerc, and brought the gap down to about a second. The sound you can hear is the Alpine of Fernando Alonso, who's running in 13th at the moment, behind Pierre Gasly, who is also behind his teammate Yuki Tsunoda. Tsunoda dropping out of the top 10 at the start. Jenny Gow is down in the pit lane.
Yeah, just having a look at strategy. So if you start on a soft tyre, Pirelli reckon the ideal is soft to medium at medium, or soft medium soft towards the end of the race if you really want to attack. Now that soft tyre is going to get you to around lap 18 if you want to come in and do 2 medium stints. Maybe lap 22 it opens if you want to do a soft medium soft, and those on the medium, they're going to want to go really long as they possibly can. How long can they go in comparison to the soft starters? That's the question. They'll be aiming for at least 40 laps on those mediums.
Yeah, well, I tell you what's interesting is Hamilton on the mediums in 4th place is right behind Carlos Sainz here. Even though he's on the harder compound of tyre, Hamilton is the driver looking to make the most progress. Sainz is dropping back from the top 2, and Hamilton's really close.
Yeah, it seems like the medium tires is not really slower than the soft. Like also at the start, Magnussen took a lot of places before he went off. So yeah, normally on the soft tire you have an advantage in the first laps, but it doesn't seem to be like that.
So Hamilton is just 0.6 of a second back from Carlos Sainz as he makes his way down towards the chicane now, gets onto the brakes, turns it into the right-hander, clunks the curb on the right-hand side, and then hugs the apex of the long left-hander of turn 12 all the way around. He is about 50 metres back from Carlos Sainz as they come into the final couple of corners. He will get the DRS this time through Hamilton as they come across the line. Looks a little too far back. He's closing and closing as they come down towards the first corner, but just a little bit adrift. And is this good pace from Hamilton, Scott, or Sainz struggling?
I think it's a little bit of both. Clearly Sainz can't quite go with Leclerc at this stage of the Grand Prix, but this is exactly what Hamilton was hoping for. Stay ahead of that Red Bull at the start and then use the fact that the Mercedes is stronger in race trim than it is in qualifying. We've seen that at every Grand Prix this season, and the fact that they were more competitive here did give Hamilton the hope that this was possible. The fact that he is on the back of the Ferrari on the harder tyre is going to be really, really encouraging. Whether he can actually get past on track is another matter entirely, because it is so difficult to overtake here.
He was a bit like an excited schoolboy yesterday after qualifying when I spoke to him, despite the yellow flag that came out when Perez spun, which meant he couldn't qualify further up than he did. He still was excited by the prospect of this race, excited by the Mercedes and how it felt. He said some days that car feels like you got out of bed on the wrong side, but today he said it felt like I got out of bed on the right side. Let's hope it's the same tomorrow, and he gave a little wink.
Well, I have no knowledge of which side he got out of the bed on today, but it seems pretty positive as he's chasing down Carlos Sainz. They come across the line to start lap 8 of 72. Now on the previous lap, Charles Leclerc set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, but this lap he was quite a little bit slower actually, 0.6 slower than Max Verstappen. So the gap's ebbing and flowing, and it's suddenly back up to 1.6 seconds where it had got down to a second before then. Hamilton a little loose. Here comes Alonso just nosing to the inside of Pierre Gasly to try and distract the Frenchman in their fight over 12th position that is still ongoing and is probably the closest wheel-to-wheel fight on the circuit at the moment. Coming into turn 3 at Hugenholtz, Alonso looks to the inside, but it is still the high line around there for Pierre Gasly, and he holds on to 12th spot. Alonso and Alpine looking to score as many points as possible in their fight for 4th in the Constructors' World Championship with McLaren. McLaren currently running with Norris in 7th and Ricciardo down in 16th, who is caught up behind Alex Albon's Williams. So at the moment, McLaren would be outscoring Alpine as it stands, but still a long way to go. Lap 8 of 72, W Series racer Bijtske Visser and journalist for TheRace.com, Scott Mitchell-Malm, alongside me, Jack Nichols, and Jenny Gow here in Zandvoort. About half an hour if you're lucky, drive north of Amsterdam. It's half an hour on the train, so we can call it half an hour north. Lap 9 of 72, and west, my producer's telling me. Are we west? Yeah, I guess we're sort of west. Let's call it northwest and it's even. Here's Verstappen's radio.
Okay, we may expect both Ferraris to begin to push. I'll keep you posted.
So we may expect both Ferraris to begin to push is the message there. What do you mean to that, Scott?
Well, we've seen before that at the start of some stints, sometimes one Ferrari sort of holds back and the other pushes a little bit more. I think the best example of that was probably the sprint race in Austria. But this time it just looks like Sainz doesn't have the pace. Last lap round, 0.7 slower than Leclerc. He's holding up Hamilton. Perez is coming into that battle now. In fact, Sainz was slower than both 2 or 3 of the cars behind him at the moment. I think at the moment it's only Leclerc that's going to be putting pressure on Verstappen, and if Hamilton can get ahead of Sainz, he might fancy his chances of getting into that lead fight.
Gap at the moment, 1.8 seconds between Max Verstappen out front in the Red Bull and Charles Leclerc in second place, because it is then 4 seconds from Leclerc in second to Sainz in third, and Alonso's really close to the back of Gasly as they come down into the chicane. It's a pretty short braking zone into that chicane, so although it seems like an overtaking opportunity, you've got to be pretty brave to try it into turn 11. Yeah,
I mean the braking zone is very short there, so to really try and make a move there is difficult because as it's downhill as well and quite bumpy, and you can't afford to miss the apex there.
This is Alonso's chance. Gasly covers the inside, to the outside goes Alonso, and he gets ahead onto the brakes into Tarzan, and Fernando Alonso finally dispatches Pierre Gasly, and he's now up into 12th position in the Alpine. Tsunoda is his next target in 11th. Joe is doing a good job actually staying with the rest of the pack. Here's George Russell's radio.
Track is very green. I think it's going to rubber up a lot.
So Russell saying the track is very green. I think it's going to rubber up a lot. So not a lot of rubber down on the circuit is Russell, as Russell is saying. So the track's going to evolve as the race goes on, and that could change the strategy as the race unfolds. We're on lap 10 of 72. Jenny Gow.
Yeah, Sebastian Vettel, I think, in the Aston Martin's just popped into the pits, and that's a bit early for my liking. It's lap 10, so I'll keep an eye out and see what the problem is there, or if there is an issue. And just looking at McLaren versus Alpine lead in that battle, 20 points. But for McLaren today, they're really just got a sole man out there, because Norris did a great job in qualifying yesterday, managing to get P7. Ricciardo, starting towards the back end of the grid, has a lot to do if he wants to get points. So really interesting fight there, with both Alpines starting outside the top 10.
Verstappen is still leading the Grand Prix, 1.7 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. The other Ferrari of Carlos Sainz is in third, under more and more pressure from Lewis Hamilton here. They're coming through the fast sequence of corners at turns 4, 5 and 6, up towards Skyflak at the far part of the circuit. The quick right-hander at turn 7, one of the most daunting corners on the track, and then they come into the more technical section of the course. Fernando Alonso has already caught up to the back of Yuki Tsunoda as they came across the line that time. There was 0.4 of a second between them, so Alonso right on the back of the Japanese AlphaTauri driver in the fight for 11th place, and Kevin Magnussen has started to make a bit of progress. He's caught the back of Nicholas Latifi, sent it very, very deep into turn 1, and actually hasn't managed to hold it into Tarzan. Looked as though the move was done there, Beitske.
Yeah, I think he just slightly braked too late, and on the inside is quite a bit dirty as well. And the track is not very smooth here either, so it's difficult to find your braking point offline.
Just a quick point on Alonso, who is really putting the pressure on Tsunoda now. He is out of position in this race. He thought he had the pace to qualify 6th or 7th, but he got held up by Sergio Perez in Q2. That's why he didn't make the top 10 shootout in qualifying. So he is a man on a mission, and as they come through the final corner there, we've got the DRS open. He's right behind.
Showing high deck.
And Alonso's on the attack again, this time to the inside at Tarzan on Yuki Tsunoda, and he manages to make the move, so he's putting himself more into position. The radio message from Norris was that saying they're seeing some degradation on the tyres of those who started on the soft tyres, and Pierre Gasly has come into the pits for a new set, as has Daniel Ricciardo. So Ricciardo going out on the mediums, Gasly leaving the pit lane, I presume also on the mediums as he emerges and rejoins the circuit, Pierre Gasly. So some early pit stops coming in, Jenny, to join Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah, really curious. I spoke to the team at Aston Martin. They said Vettel's was planned. That makes more sense now with other teams coming in. So 10 laps on those soft tyres for Sebastian Vettel. Ricciardo managed 11, as did Gasly. They've all gone onto the medium tyres. I think the complexion of this race will change with strategy calls being made right now.
Max Verstappen's lead is now up to 2.2 seconds. So will Ferrari try the undercut, or are they a little bit too far out of that window? Certainly the problem for Hamilton is that while he could try the undercut as he's trying to get past Carlos Sainz in 3rd place, so come into the pits, put on some new tyres and go quicker for a lap, so when your rival pits you're already ahead of them. Hamilton doesn't want to pit early because he's got the medium tyres on, so he wants to make them last.
Yeah, I think maybe his strategy should be to stay as close to Sainz as possible, because most likely when Sainz pits he's going to get in some traffic with the other medium tyres. So by that time Hamilton might have some clear laps and might actually do an overcut.
Yeah, Fernando Alonso has just pitted, and that will be as a reaction to Pierre Gasly's pit stop, who was just behind him, but I think he's going to emerge still in front of Gasly. Alonso, yes he is. So Fernando Alonso holds the position from Pierre Gasly. We'll see whether Yuki Tsunoda decides to come into the pits. So Alonso was about 3.7 seconds back from Schumacher, so he's got some clear air now as he gets a little loose on the exit of Hugenholtz. We're on lap 13 of 72, and Verstappen's lead is just starting to stretch a little bit. Hamilton is still right in there behind Carlos Sainz.
I'm slightly confused about the tyre that Alonso's gone on to. He seems to have gone onto the hard tyres, and I don't recall anyone saying after Friday that the hard tyre was going to be particularly usable. He did have alternative options. He started on the soft. He had a new set of mediums he could have gone on to. He had 2 sets of softs as well, 2 new sets of softs he could have used. So they could have tried a soft, long middle stint on the medium and then soft at the end. But clearly they want to extend this middle stint as long as possible. Let's see if Alpine know that something that a few other teams on Friday didn't.
Yeah, well, these are the hardest 3 compounds in the range that Pirelli use over the course of the season. Into the pits now comes Yuki Tsunoda. Max Verstappen continues to lead, 2.5 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc at the moment, but the big fight is in Carlos Sainz in third in the Ferrari, under pressure from Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton having a storming run in the Mercedes. He's on the medium tyres, Sainz is on the softs. We're sort of entering a pit stop window now as well, but Verstappen, broadly speaking, is in control in the early stages. Hamilton's so close still to Carlos Sainz. That hard tyre for Alonso is going to be very interesting. Schumacher pitted and I think is going to emerge still ahead of Fernando Alonso. We'll wait and see where they shuffle out. As Schumacher's just exiting, he's just coming through the first sector now. Alonso, I think Alonso's ahead of Schumacher here. I think Alonso's managed to get the undercut. Into the pits though, comes Carlos Sainz from third place. The Ferrari driver, who was under big pressure from Hamilton, is into the pits. Looked like a pretty late call tyre-wise. They were sprinting out to get the tyres ready, and it's a slow pit stop. And also into the pits has come Perez, and Sainz's race is done. He's still in the pits. I'm sure they didn't have the tyres ready at Ferrari. People were sprinting out. He's gone onto the mediums. I think there's been a huge tyre mess up in the pit lane for Ferrari. Quelle surprise, 12.7 seconds, Sainz's pit stop. And, well, we'll get a replay of it, but I'm sure that I saw people running around as he was coming in. And that's another disaster for Ferrari.
It's such a problem for them. They keep finding ways to compromise their Grand Prix this season. Obviously, Sainz didn't look like he was going to get into that lead fight, but it's just another Ferrari mistake, and it frees up Lewis Hamilton completely. He is now unleashed on those medium tyres. He's so good at managing them, and now he's got no threat from the Ferrari he was fighting.
So was there not a rear left tyre? I can't quite see.
He's running there.
Here's Sainz's radio.
Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, and Sainz is actually, Perez hit a wheel gun on the way out, but which was not ideal. But we're not.
They left the gun out. Yeah, we saw.
Okay, so Perez saying they left the gun out. Yeah, there was no rear left tyre. Wasn't ready. We spoke to Eddie Irvine on the grid before the start of the Grand Prix, and he famously had a problem putting a rear left tyre on. What was that? When was that? 1998 Nürburgring, 1999 Nürburgring, I want to say. Hashtag BBC F1 if you remember when Eddie Irvine didn't have a rear tyre during a Grand Prix for Ferrari. That's 16 of 72. Verstappen leading 4 seconds now ahead of Charles Leclerc. Hamilton is now promoted to third then. Russell is now promoted to fourth position. Fifth is Lando Norris, sixth is Stroll, seventh is Ocon, eighth is Perez. So he's now the first of the drivers to have made a pit stop. He's on the medium tyre and he's running in eighth place. He's ahead of Albon in ninth, Bottas in 10th, Sainz, Alonso, Tsunoda, Gasly and Zhou the top 15, Schumacher, Vettel, Ricciardo, Magnussen and Latifi, the 20 drivers still running. Jenny Gao.
Yeah, lap 16, and it's really interesting looking at the divergence of strategy now. It's what we long for in Formula One. So Alonso, he's done the last 3 laps on the hard team radio.
The tyres are not too bad.
Understood, Max. Thank you.
Verstappen saying the tyres are not too bad, Jenny.
Yes, so Alonso's on the hard, and the team say they reckon the one stop does have potential. So let's see what happens with that one. A lot of the teams have come in and gone onto the medium tyres. Only one driver that I can see, Joe, has come on and gone onto the soft tyres, locking himself into stopping at least again, because you have to use at least 2 of the different compounds. So he started on the soft, went onto the soft, probably gone to a medium or hard next up. But really interesting watching this.
What also really interesting to watch is a beautiful battle between Mick Schumacher and Sebastian Vettel, both giving each other plenty of space into the chicane. They went side by side and Schumacher came out ahead of Vettel and is now in 16th position. That was lovely racing by the way.
Yeah, that's something you don't expect around that corner, but yeah, they just have a lot of respect between each other and they knew where the other car was, so they just left enough space.
Lap 17 of 72. Here's Charles Leclerc's radio.
Tyres are not great.
And they're falling away now. Ferrari are getting ready in the pit lane. Looks as though they have got all the tyres ready. Jenny, get your fingers out. Can you count 4?
That's hard. I got 4 fingers and a thumb. I'm all good. So the hose man takes the pipe out of the way from the Mercedes Red Bull garage. They slot into the pit lane, do the pit stop. Both up. How quick are they going to be able to turn this around before he goes out? I can't see if he's got the hards on, Jack. You can probably get a better visage of it from me.
No, I think it was the medium tyres for Leclerc. 2.5 seconds the pit stop, and he emerges now onto the start-finish straight. Norris into the pits in 5th position as well. He is going onto the hards at McLaren. So McLaren pitting Lando Norris and putting him out on the hard tyre as he rejoins the circuit now, Jenny.
Yeah, worth noting, Norris, I think, started on the medium tyres. So the first of the runners on the medium to decide, no, I've had enough of this. Let's go and see if we can go on the hard and make it last.
So lap 18 of 72, Verstappen leads, and it's the kind of thing, basically, we've heard all season, haven't we, where Red Bull are quite happy, Verstappen's quite happy with his tyres, and Ferrari are struggling with them.
Yeah, it seems like also in practice already, where Red Bull was just a bit stronger on the long runs, and already on the used tyres there was a bigger difference between the two cars. So it was a bit to be expected that the longer the run would be, the better the Red Bull would be.
Also into the pits comes Max Verstappen now, the race leader responding to Ferrari. Jenny?
Yeah, he trundles in so slowly to his pit box. They put on a new set of the medium tyres. Away he goes. It looked like a clean stop to me. Just waiting for the time to come up on my screen. 3.4, relatively slow actually for the team at Red Bull. They normally go about a second quicker, but it looked very relaxed. It was a bit weird actually, how the pace that he came into the pit box with.
Well, he's managing to emerge still in ahead of Charles Leclerc in the lead of the Grand Prix. Leclerc did the fastest middle sector, but Verstappen emerges still ahead, and so Hamilton and Russell are now the net race leaders. Hamilton ahead of Russell by 3 seconds, then it's 9.6 seconds back to Verstappen. Esteban Ocon's just pitted in the Alpine. Leclerc is 4th, and he is about 5 seconds back from Verstappen, which is what he was in the latter stages of that first stint before he pitted. Perez is 5th. Albon is still there in 6th, having yet to pit. Sainz is now 7th. Norris is 8th. Stroll is 9th. Alonso is 10th. Ocon, Tsunoda, Gasly, Zhou and Schumacher the top 15. Bottas, Vettel, Ricciardo, Magnussen and Latifi are the 20 drivers on lap 19 of 72. And Carlos Sainz then is all the way back in 7th place, and he's now got to try and get past Alex Albon. He's not involved in the fight at the front anymore. The team telling him they're still on plan A. So we'll wait and see what plan A is, and now the mechanics in the pit lane are actually just replacing the wheel gun that got run over by Sergio Perez in the pits, because there's a whole load of black rubber on it. So let's just see whether Sainz is able to get ahead of Albon on this lap. It should be fairly straightforward for the Ferrari man. The Williams is yet to stop running in 7th place, in 6th place I should say, and Sainz will have the slipstream, he will have the DRS as well, and they come down towards Tarzan, and he pulls out, gets alongside and gets ahead up into 6th position. And that, I think, is all the progress that Sainz will be able to make today after that very, very slow pit stop. So Hamilton leads, Russell 2nd. How long will Mercedes stay out now, Beitske? That's going to be the question.
Yeah, they're going to try to at least make sure they still try to get in front of Sainz, because Sainz lost a lot of time in the pits. So they just see how much time they're losing now on the used tyres compared to Sainz on new, and then try to be in front.
One thing that we can trust Hamilton to be able to do in particular is just eke out as much of these tyres as possible. He was bottled up behind Sainz in the early part of that stint, but he is really, really good at protecting the tyres even when he's tucked up behind someone else. It's been a bit of an underrated skill of Hamilton's over the years. Russell's pace is dropping off a little bit more at this stage. If I had to guess, I'd say that Russell is probably going to pit first, whereas Hamilton's got a bit more of a buffer, so he's probably a bit more well protected.
Sebastian Vettel has been in a fight with Valtteri Bottas into the first corner at Tarzan. Contact between them as Bottas tried to go around the outside. I think they've both managed to escape that, relatively speaking. Front wing end plate could have gone there for Vettel, but it looked as though it all fairly stayed intact. Bottas could have spun, but he managed to hold it too. So Hamilton leads the Grand Prix. Mercedes 1-2 at the moment, Jenny.
Yeah, and just looking at the 3 drivers who have gone onto the hards, Alonso's now done 7 laps on them, Ocon has done 1, and Norris at McLaren has done 2. So McLaren trying to replicate what Alpine are doing and vice versa. So they give themselves the best chance of staying with the other team, I suppose. But it'll be fascinating to see if they can get to the end of this race. Some people I'm speaking to say no, they'll come back in again. It's got to be a 2-stop. Others saying, yeah, they might just be able to do it. So only one way of finding out.
Watch the race. Hamilton leading, Russell second, Verstappen in third, Leclerc fourth, Perez fifth, Sainz is sixth. Albon, Norris, Stroll and Alonso the rest of the top 10. Albon hasn't pitted. In fact, he's the only driver other than the 2 Mercedes who are yet to come into the pits. What can Mercedes realistically aim for here? Is it now a bit of an open goal for third and fourth?
Well, they need to be a little bit careful because Sergio Perez is chipping away at that gap to Hamilton. The loss in the pits here is around about 18 seconds. Obviously, it could be a bit worse if you have a pit stop anywhere near like Sainz had at Ferrari. But at the moment, Hamilton does have a bit of a buffer, but Perez took quite a lot out of him on that last lap. He's under 20 seconds behind now, and what you don't want to do is rejoin and then not be able to pass the Red Bull and then lose any advantage you've got from the tyre offset. So Mercedes probably have to be quite careful here, and they might bring in Hamilton just to make sure he has track position over Perez.
Hamilton is pushing on this lap. He's just doing his personal best lap of the Grand Prix so far. Alex Albon has just pitted in the Williams and is going to emerge ahead of Bottas and Vettel, who are continuing to scrap. No, sorry, that's Vettel and Ricciardo who are scrapping, the former teammates at Red Bull in 2014. Lap 22 of 72 in the Dutch Grand Prix. Verstappen is running in third and he's 3.4 seconds back from Russell. The Mercedes stay out, and fairly soon Verstappen will be catching the back of Russell in about maybe 4 or 5 laps time potentially. That's if Russell doesn't pit, but Hamilton and Russell both stay out on this lap, so they're running a very different strategy to everybody else, Beitske.
Yeah, but I think their pace is still very strong. I mean, obviously Verstappen is a bit quicker on the newer tires, but they're still consistently running in the 116s. So I think as long as they can keep doing the 116s, they should be okay.
Yuki Tsunoda is still ahead of Pierre Gasly in their fight over 11th place. The 2 AlphaTauri drivers are on the medium tyre. As Jenny mentioned earlier on, Joe has gone out on the soft, as has Valtteri Bottas. So Alfa Romeo deciding to go on the soft tyre for this second stint of the Grand Prix. So they're sort of locked into a 2-stopper because they definitely won't be making it towards the end of the race. Sound you can hear is Max Verstappen onto the brakes into 11 and 12 once more, running in third position, 3 seconds or so back from George Russell, who's in second place in the Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton is leading the Grand Prix, but the Mercedes are yet to pit, and if they were to pit now, they'd emerge approximately in third and fourth positions ahead of Sergio Perez, but they stay out for another lap. So really going aggressive on this extension here, Mercedes. And to be honest, if they've done 24 laps on these mediums, they're getting into the realms of them having a definite one-stopper.
They've got options available to them, which I think is something that other teams, not in this lead fight necessarily, but throughout the field, didn't really have. But Lando Norris is one of the few drivers that is on the hards, for example, but that is because he didn't have a set of mediums to go onto, so locked into something like that. Whereas Mercedes do have this flexibility. I don't think it was expected that many or any of the front runners would really start on the mediums. At the moment, Mercedes seem to be making it work quite well, but then it depends where they go from here. How aggressive do they want to be at the end of the race? It could be that they want to extend this as much as possible. Maybe do 2 sets of 1 set on the softs, mediums again. I think it just depends how you want to play it. Do you go softs at the end for an aggressive final stint, or do you want to go softs in the middle to really try and make up some ground in the short term?
Just looking at the pit wall, actually, 4 men sitting down, looking at their screens, having a bit of a conversation with each other, and James Vowles in the middle of them, standing 1 leg up, just looking on, using the intercom to talk to everybody in his team here and back in the UK. And at the moment, there's no sign of movement from the Mercedes team, just 2 of the mechanics standing outside, kicking around. But when will they choose to pounce? James Vowles now raises himself up onto the bar a little bit higher. What's he saying? That's the question.
Hamilton's tyres, we're getting a very nice slow motion look at them. They look in pretty good condition there, don't they? Absolutely fine, Beitske, by the looks of things.
Yeah, I think he's been saving them quite a bit maybe in the beginning, and also going to the hard tyre would be an option from them, because Alpine and Norris looking quite quick on those tyres. So I think the tyres are working a bit better than everyone was expecting before the race.
At 25 of 72. Hamilton leading, Russell is second, but neither of them have made a pit stop yet. Verstappen is third. He started on the soft tyres. He's now running on the mediums, and he's still about 5 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. Here's Verstappen's radio.
Okay, start to eke up on Russell.
Lewis Hamilton is leading. George Russell is in second place, but they are yet to make a pit stop, the Mercedes team. They're going on a very different strategy to those around. Verstappen has pitted. He's running in third, but that's the net lead of the Grand Prix with Leclerc in fourth. There was disaster for Ferrari at the pit stop for Carlos Sainz. They forgot to bring a tyre out, so they had to wait 10 seconds while the mechanic ran inside and grabbed it. So they've lost a lot of places, but Hamilton and Russell lead.
Hamilton may try a one stop.
So, Verstappen was told there, just before we spoke to Connor, that to close in on George Russell a little bit, to try and close the gap a little. And he's in a bit of a difficult situation here, Verstappen, because the closer he runs behind Russell, that'll hurt his tyres more, but also he doesn't want to get stuck behind Russell and have Leclerc catch him. So it's tricky to know what to do here.
Yeah, he has two options. The first one is the one he probably wants, to close the gap as quick as possible and make the move in one go. But if he can't get the move done in one lap, then he has to be worried about heating his car and tires getting too hot.
Jenny.
If there's a question mark with Alpine and whether they can get 60 laps doing a one-stopper out of that hard, then surely we have to look at Mercedes and say it's a no-brainer for them to go onto that hard tyre, even though it's a slower tyre than the medium and soft, and go to the end. They might be the only team at the moment who could make that strategy work, gaining themselves at least 19, 20 seconds.
What's really impressive actually is that the pace of the hard tyre runners at the moment, so that's Norris, Alonso and Ocon, so the McLaren and both Alpines, is really good. It surprises me, because I thought there might be an issue maybe switching it on or something, but the pace is strong. Okay, they're not as quick as the top six, but they're quicker than everybody around them in the midfield. That tyre is just going to run and run and run. So it could be that they're playing a blinder, and Mercedes could be looking at this.
So this is looking good. Lewis 16.7, Verstappen 16.0.
So Russell being told, Jenny, this is looking good.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, agreeing with Scott, that Mercedes will be all over the statistics coming from Alpine and Alonso and Ocon, and also from Norris. They'll be watching very carefully to see exactly how this tyre handles and using all that information to propel their decisions.
Joe was right behind Gasly as they came past the commentary box that time around, fighting for 12th position, and Joe's on a bit of a charge here to get up maybe into the top 11. He's right up behind Gasly as they came down the start-finish straight. Couldn't quite get the move made. The Alpha Tauri is pretty strong in a straight line, but also close here is Max Verstappen. He's closing in on the back of George Russell. How hard is Russell going to defend for second place? He covers the inside. Verstappen goes to the outside, sweeps around the outside, gets up into second place, and now has his sights set on Lewis Hamilton. So Verstappen up into second position, Russell down into third. Hamilton is leading the Grand Prix, 3 seconds ahead. Leclerc is still 6 seconds back from George Russell, so the Ferrari's not coming with the Red Bull on lap 28 of 72. But good, neat move there from Max Verstappen. Hamilton leading, Russell in third place. And we've seen this so often this season, Weizke, where Mercedes' strength is they just manage to get the best result. The car might not be great this year, but they're always getting the maximum, I feel.
Yeah, they seem to be very strong on strategy and tyre management, and yeah, it doesn't really matter where they start the race, they will always end up in the top 5 somehow.
So, Scott, Hamilton leads the Grand Prix. Obviously Verstappen's closing in here, but Leclerc's not making any inroads. And are we thinking that Mercedes and Ferrari all have one more pit stop to make? So are Ferrari going to need to pass the Mercedes on track if they want to finish second here?
Well, Mercedes have given themselves that option basically to make it as difficult as possible for the opposition. Hamilton's the previous lap wasn't particularly great. That one is a little bit better. He'll drop behind Sergio Perez when he makes his pit stop, but they've got the option now of switching to the hard and running to the end. And if there's a safety car or anything else, they can change to the soft tyre for an aggressive final stint, or they can do a long middle stint on the hard and go aggressive with softs at the end. But basically,
surely at this point they're locked into a one-stopper.
I think you are if the race then proceeds uninterrupted. But the point is that if they've got a bit of flexibility here, I think they've complicated Ferraris. Ferrari has made life difficult for themselves with one car. Mercedes is making life very difficult for them for the other.
They've got a difficult life in general at the moment, Ferrari, haven't they? Lap 29 of 72. Jenny Gao.
Yeah, I was just on safety car watch, actually. You're right. If Mercedes refrain from pitting for as long as possible and then they get a safety car, they would get a very cheap pit stop for their drivers potentially. And they reckon it's about 13 seconds under safety car, but no, they are going for it. So the Mercedes mechanics come out, they take the covers off their wheel guns, they're ready to welcome one of their drivers in and switch them onto hards. From my angle, can't quite see who it's going to be, but as soon as that Mercedes comes in, Jack Nicholls, there he goes, it is Lewis Hamilton, pulls to a halt, tyres come off, dust comes up in the air, the hards are on, he wheel spins away. That was a really good pit stop for Mercedes.
Neat and tidy stuff. So Hamilton will rejoin the circuit then on a hard tyre that he will aim to go to the end of the Grand Prix on. He's going to come out behind Sergio Perez. So Perez is up into 4th place in the Red Bull. Hamilton is 5th. Sainz is a long way back, about 15 seconds behind in 6th position. So Hamilton is now in 5th place, but he doesn't have to stop again. Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez, we think all do need to make another pit stop. Bit loose from Hamilton as he comes through Hugenholtz, but we've seen all the other hard tyres running quite well. It's important now to see what Hamilton's pace is going to be.
Yeah, I think this timing with the pit stop was actually perfect just before Max catches up with him, because as soon as a car overtakes you, you lose 2 seconds straight away. So they avoided that 2-second loss, and now they did nearly half of the race on the medium, so they surely should be able to do the rest on hards.
Max Verstappen now is back in the lead of the Dutch Grand Prix. Russell is in 2nd place, 3.7 seconds back, but is still yet to make a pit stop. It'll probably, I'd have thought, come at the end of this lap. Leclerc is in 3rd. That will become a net 2nd place. It is a net 2nd place. It'll become an actual 2nd place when Russell makes his pit stop. And then it's Perez, Hamilton and Sainz. Joe is still chasing down Pierre Gasly for 12th position. The gap between them is just 0.7 of a second as Joe has a pretty strong afternoon, to be honest. How far up the road are they from Mick Schumacher? About 2.7 seconds. Schumacher must have had a slow stop, right? Because he was in the top 10 early on, or have I made that up?
No, he started inside the top 10. He dropped a couple of places on the opening lap because he started on the medium tyre, but I think something did go wrong around the pit stop phase because he dropped right down the order. Obviously, we saw him having to put a move on Sebastian Vettel, who we know started near the back. Here's
Verstappen's radio.
Just keeping out the hard tyre, but I don't think it will be good. Already feeling this tyre.
Yep, understood.
Here comes Joe right behind Gasly for 12th place. Oh, Joe went to the inside and a very, very late block from Pierre Gasly. Joe also didn't quite have the confidence to send it into the first corner. He's just a tiny bit too far back. George Russell, I think, is going to be into the pits at the end of this lap. So round the final corner comes Max Verstappen out across the line. Russell now peels to the right and pits, Jenny.
He certainly does. The team ready and waiting with a brand new set of hard tyres. 22 men gather around the car. They lift them up. Rear jackman bends down. The hard tyres on. It was slightly slow on the rear right gunman. A little disappointed with himself and frustrated, but not too shabby. Not compared to Ferraris.
Hamilton has nearly just done the fastest lap of the race. He hasn't. He's done a 1 minute 15.801. But that is less than 1/10 of a second slower than what Max Verstappen has managed earlier on in this Grand Prix. That was on lap 27, so that was when about 5 laps ago when he was chasing George Russell. And that's decent pace for Hamilton. Okay, they're the freshest tyres on the circuit, but that's a solid first lap.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It shows that there is pace in that tyre, and more importantly that the Mercedes can switch it on, because we've seen this in qualifying or at the start of stints. Sometimes it can be quite difficult for them to get the car in the right working window, but it's clearly in that window right now. He's a second faster than Perez on that last lap, so by the time he catches up to the back of that Red Bull, it should be quite easy to take that track position back.
So Perez is in 3rd place, 3.5 seconds ahead of Hamilton. So this is going to be really, really interesting to watch this fight unfold, and how quickly can Hamilton close in on Sergio Perez. Here's Russell's radio.
So going to the end, Lewis 7 seconds ahead.
So Russell being told we're going to the end, and Lewis is 7 seconds ahead. Jenny?
Yeah, just thinking about Mercedes on Friday, they were really pleased with the day they'd had. Sometimes their Fridays can be a bit of a horror show of late, but they said they were happy with the progress. They'd come here and they'd found the sweet spot with that car very quickly. It's a circuit that suits them. Everyone said if they're going to have a chance of winning in this second part of the season, this is one of their best shots. It's just, what is the win? Is it there? Is it tangible? What do you think?
The win? Oh, I think it's a little far. Verstappen is controlling this race, but
Yeah, I think even if Verstappen has to do another pit stop, he will probably be just behind or catch up very soon, because then he will have soft tires. So I think Verstappen is looking very strong here, but I think for second and third they can definitely fight.
Yeah, Verstappen's got so much flexibility in front of him in terms of what he can do strategy-wise. You know, he talks about maybe readying the hards. He does have another new set of mediums as well, I think, that he can go on to. So they can cover Mercedes every which way. But if I'm Ferrari, I'm getting quite nervous now. I think Leclerc could be very vulnerable to certainly at least one Mercedes.
Lap 34 of 72, almost at half race distance. That is journalist for TheRace.com, Scott Mitchell-Marm, alongside Beitske Visser, the W Series racer. Myself, Jack Nicholls. Jenny Gow is down in the pit lane, and Max Verstappen is leading the Grand Prix. 8 seconds clear of Charles Leclerc. Perez in third. The gap has come down to 2.4 seconds to Hamilton in fourth. So Perez is going to be under pressure. That last lap time from Hamilton, well, Russell did the fastest lap of the race on that last lap. Hamilton took 7/10 out of Perez. He also took 4/10 out of Charles Leclerc. Leclerc is 10 seconds up the road, but more pit stops to come for the front runners, we believe. Lap 34 of 72. Also worth pointing out, I don't think I've said it, that Joe, even though he was fighting with Pierre Gasly, who has now pitted, he does have a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, which was the same penalty that Leclerc got at the last Grand Prix. I always thought it was a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pits, but it turns out to be a 5-second penalty now. And Daniel Eckersley helped me out on hashtag BBCF1. It was the 1999 European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring, where Eddie Irvine didn't have a rear left tyre. Into the pits comes Mick Schumacher, a new set of hard tyres going on the Haas. Another slightly sticky stop for the Haas team. Lost about 2.5 seconds in that as he rejoins the circuit, and Hamilton now is just 1.3 seconds back from Perez, and he does the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Jenny Gow.
Yeah, just looking at Mick Schumacher, as you said, slightly slow stop, his second stop going from the medium tyre to the hard tyre. Team radio.
We don't believe we can manage to do plan C.
So Leclerc being told, we don't believe we can manage to do plan C. So whatever plan C was, they're not going to be doing it.
I wonder how many plans they have then.
It's mad, isn't it? We've heard plan D before, I think, Jenny. Have we got further than D in the alphabet?
I think it was McLaren, was it last week? I think we got quite a plan E, I think, was talked about it. I think it was plan E, and Lando Norris had no idea what it meant by the end of the race.
We just stick with plan Gow.
Love that plan. It was a front jack issue, by the way, for Mick Schumacher as Valtteri Bottas comes into the pits for his second stop, going from the soft onto whatever he chooses. Front jacket issue for the Mick Schumacher car. The other Haas comes in right now. The car wouldn't get dropped down, so a little bit painful for them.
Andrew Benson, the BBC's chief F1 writer, has texted in to say we've had plan F from Ferrari, I'm sure. Here comes Hamilton. He's right behind Sergio Perez now. The battle for third place. Perez covers the inside. Hamilton sends it to the outside. Perez locks up. They almost bang wheels. Hamilton sticks it in there. Perez runs him out of room, runs him out of road, and holds on to third position. But Hamilton had given Perez plenty of room on the inside, but Perez's lockup almost took him into it.
I'm sure without that lockup Hamilton would have gone by straight away, but he had to avoid a collision there. So it was trying to be safe from Hamilton's side, but he's definitely not happy with that.
No, absolutely, and he's left Perez plenty of room because, of course, he didn't leave Fernando Alonso much room at the last Grand Prix at Spa on the opening lap, which ended up spinning Hamilton out of the race and led Alonso to be a bit annoyed on the radio. The two made up. Not that they ever really fell out earlier on this week. And Hamilton is now on the back of Perez coming into the chicane. He's a little too far back as he still sends it to the outside coming into turn 11. Gets Perez offline and now gets on the power coming out of turn 12 down towards the final couple of corners. And this time around over the start-finish straight, it should be a fairly straightforward move for Hamilton. Comes out of Harry Leyendijk, opens the DRS, comes past us in front of the commentary box and is right underneath the rear wing of Perez down towards turn 1. That Red Bull is so quick in a straight line though, Hamilton's going to have to go the long way round, and he does pull it off this time. Hamilton up into third place then, and is now 9 seconds. Oh, he's got a very, very dodgy rejoining Sebastian Vettel ahead of him. Perez might try and take advantage of that. Perez lunges to the inside of turn 3 at Hugenholtz, but Hamilton hangs on around the high side of the banking and keeps the place. But Sebastian Vettel is still right in front of the two of them, and Perez is looking to the inside into Sky Flag, and he just about manages to bail out before they make contact. Hamilton now has cleared Sebastian Vettel. Oh, Perez was getting quite excited there, wasn't he? That was a risky one.
I don't think that's a corner where you really should try and move. Yeah, it's very tricky there. It's very tight.
So, really close fight there with Hamilton. Got around the outside of Perez. That looked like the move done, but it was when Sebastian Vettel came out and just kind of plodded around on the racing line that it got a bit tricky. Especially as Vettel then only a few corners later decided to move aside and adhere to blue flags. I mean, he could have got out of the way sooner. I think it's complicated for both drivers there. It's dithering in the middle of the road there, I think, that's a bit wrong from Sebastian Vettel. Makes Hamilton's life a lot harder than it needed to be. But I understand in the sweeps that follows, there's not a safe place to move aside. Max Verstappen is leading, 9.4 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc. Hamilton has just overtaken Sergio Perez. He's up into third place, and he's got a shot at taking second from the Ferrari of Leclerc. So fight on for second, but Verstappen leading the way. Hamilton then in third, but Perez fourth. Russell is fifth. Russell's a second back from Perez now. So this will be another fun fight, because Perez didn't want to give that place up, did he?
No, he seemed to try to defend it as much as possible, also to try to keep the gap to Verstappen probably.
Lap 38 of 72. Verstappen leading, Leclerc second, Hamilton third. Hamilton 9.5 seconds back from Leclerc. That last lap doesn't really count because he was fighting with Sergio Perez, in fact. But on this lap, Hamilton's on his way to set the fastest lap at the Grand Prix. Russell is now right on the back of Perez, so he's going to try and get up into fourth place ahead of the second Red Bull. They're coming into the final corner now, and this is going to be another really tight opportunity for Russell to get ahead of Perez. The straight line speed in that Red Bull is huge, so even with the DRS and the slipstream, Russell is going to have his work cut out. Perez covers the inside. Actually, Russell's closer through Harry Leyendijk than Hamilton ever was, and he manages to get the move done straightforwardly. Gets up into fourth place. Hamilton third, Russell fourth, and they don't have to pit again. Verstappen leading, Leclerc second, Hamilton third, Russell fourth. Fascinating Grand Prix here from Mercedes' point of view, Jenny.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Russell's tyres are only 7 laps old. Compare that to Perez. He's done 22 laps on those medium tyres already. The most anyone's managed to do on those was 29, and that was, it must be 30 actually, that would have been George Russell. So watch out for that. They're going to have to start to think about pitting sooner or later, aren't they? Because those tyres are not going to hold on forever. The only people who can do that really, I think, are the Mercedes. And Mercedes shown everybody a bit of a strategy masterclass.
Max, what are your thoughts on tyre compounds?
This doesn't really feel spectacular.
Understood.
So Verstappen is saying he's not loving the mediums, but he also said earlier that he doesn't really want the hards either, and the softs feels like a bit of a risky choice. So they've got a big decision to make here. Both Verstappen and Leclerc will be having the same thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, if he wants to go back to the soft, he still has to extend this stint quite a bit further, because the softs are not going to last 30 laps.
Past half race distance in the Dutch Grand Prix here on Sports Extra. Bijtske Visser, the W Series racer, alongside me, Jack Nichols. We've got Scott Mitchell-Malm, journalist for therace.com, with us in the commentary booth as well, and Jenny Gao has thoughts.
I do. Sometimes they're useful, sometimes not so much. Zhou Guanyu, he managed to get those soft tyres on his opening stint. They were used as well to go 25 laps. So I'm just wondering, the cars are a bit lighter now. If you can get yourself to about 25-30 laps to the end of the race, then you switch onto those softs. It might work for some people.
Yeah, potentially. I guess it depends what's the risky strategy and what's the safe strategy. Surely for Verstappen, he can whack mediums or hards, and it won't really make any difference, and he'll go to the end. But Leclerc's got a big choice to make here, I think.
Yeah, the interesting thing now, looking at the compounds that everyone's on, that more than half the field is now out on the hard tyre, which didn't come up at all in tyre supply Pirelli's pre-race estimates for what the fastest strategies would be. I think everyone's learning from that early move from the Alpines and the McLaren. I think really set the tone for what we're seeing here. I don't envy Ferrari being in this position, because it should have been a fairly straightforward run to second, try and fight for the victory, and now I don't know, could they lose the place to both Mercedes? Are they maybe even going to struggle to stay on the podium?
Perez is into the pits. It's Perez in the pits for Red Bull. Good pit stop for them. They put him on the hard tyre, brand new set.
2.3 seconds, that pit stop for Sergio Perez. So Sainz gets up into 5th place, but he hasn't made a second stop. Is Perez being a little bit of a guinea pig here, just to see what the tyre's like and report back to Verstappen?
Yeah, I think they will look now at how quickly he can switch the tyres on to know for Max if it will work. But yeah, looking at all the other cars, I think the hard tyre is quite a good option.
What are you doing if you're Leclerc in 2nd place? What tyre are you wanting? Or are you wanting a new team instead?
I think I would go for hards, looking at everyone else.
Maybe just 4 tyres. Maybe that's kind of the minimum at the moment, isn't it? Lap 42 of 72, so 31 to go in the Dutch Grand Prix. Max Verstappen is leading, 10.7 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc. Hamilton has brought the gap down. He was over a second quicker than Leclerc on that last lap. They're going to have to do something at some point here, Ferrari, because Hamilton is closing in so quickly. He might be able to catch up to the back of Ferrari even before they pit. And then Leclerc would have to. I don't know. I'm struggling to see a scenario where Hamilton doesn't get second here.
Well, at the moment, Leclerc is falling behind both Mercedes drivers when he makes his second pit stop, and the pace of Hamilton and Russell in particular. Russell personal best of the race last time around, 4 tenths faster than Hamilton. So I can't see how Leclerc's easily going to beat either Mercedes at the moment. He is going to lose track position. He's going to need a very feisty and very fast final stint.
This is a fascinating Grand Prix here in the Netherlands. Last year's race was perhaps not the most thrilling. Verstappen dominating it from the front. Verstappen is kind of dominating this one from the front, but the fight for second place is very, very much on, and Mercedes looking for another couple of podium finishes, and actually would probably close in on Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship.
And hard is faster than expected on the Mercedes.
Charles Leclerc being told that the hard is faster than expected on the Mercedes, who have had 2 double podium finishes this season, 2nd and 3rd in both France and Hungary, and they could be on for another here this afternoon. So Leclerc's lead over Hamilton is now down to 5.5 seconds. That last lap it came down again by 1.1 seconds, wasn't it? It was almost identical lap times for both of them. Perez is catching the back of Lando Norris. So Perez on his new hard tyres is on the back of Norris, who's running currently in 6th. Norris did a personal best lap on the last race, but goodness me, Perez has got some closing speed down into Tarzan. Half-heartedly noses towards the inside and doesn't get the move done, but he'll be past Norris before too long. But Norris is having a fairly fine race, running in 6th position.
Norris is doing a good job of taking advantage of the good first lap. The starting position he had versus the Alpines was important for McLaren. That he is maintaining that advantage. He's only a few seconds up the road, though. The really interesting thing there, though, is we've got a reference time from Perez.
In plan C, we will go to overtaken and we'll finish P4, 30 laps to go.
So, right, Leclerc being told, well, basically being told if we do one option, then we'll end up in 4th place at the. He's going to end up in 4th place at some point. Anyway, whenever he pits, really interesting from Ferrari here. Lap 44 of 72, and although we are. And Carlos Sainz is going to come into the pits at the end of this lap then. So Sainz in 5th position is going to pit by the looks of things. Perez is right behind Lando Norris. This will be for 6th currently, but it'll become 5th position as Sainz now makes his way into the pit lane, Jenny.
Yeah, it certainly does. They have 4 tyres, which is a bonus for them. It's a hard, but it's another slightly slow stop, I would say, for Sainz. He's gone back out is he now the guinea pig for Leclerc?
It looks like it, and Tsunoda's off. Tsunoda looks like he's broken down.
Tyres not fitted, tyres not fitted.
Copy, slow down.
The tyre's not fitted, and this could be the thing that saves Charles Leclerc potentially, because this could be a virtual safety car or a full safety car. The AlphaTauri team are screaming on the pit wall at each other because Yuki Tsunoda says the tyres haven't fitted. He's pulled to the side of the road, and Ferrari are ready now for Charles Leclerc, but it hasn't been deployed. The safety car or virtual safety car has not been called yet, and so Ferrari have sort of missed that chance with Leclerc because he makes his way around. Tsunoda is now driving again.
Tyres are okay. Start again. Tyres are okay.
The team saying no, the tyres are fitted. Yuki saying the tyres aren't fitted. Well, that's a strange one. Never seen that one before. Tsunoda pulling off at the side of the circuit and saying the tyres aren't fitted, but they're saying it's okay. That's a really strange one.
But he's still driving slowly as well, so
Yeah.
he still doesn't trust it.
No, so there must be, and he must have stopped because he felt that he felt something wrong. We're just getting a replay of him coming into the pit lane in the AlphaTauri, makes his way down the pits, pulls into the pit box. On go the hard tyres. Everyone was happy in the pit lane. There was no sort of waving at each other afterwards. So Yuki Tsunoda, because he must have felt they were loose. I presume you can feel when a tyre's not on properly. That's just one of the stupidest questions I've ever asked.
Yeah, you can feel it in your steering wheel. It starts to pull one way and it feels a bit wobbly. So, yeah, you don't stop your car if you don't feel that, I assume.
Yeah, exactly. Into the pits comes Charles Leclerc from second place. Jenny?
Yeah, he's on the medium tyres, slides in very slowly to his pit box. They put on a new set of the hard tyres. He wheel spins away. Heartbreak for Leclerc for a moment then with Tsunoda. He thought maybe a safety car would save his race. For Ferrari, I think that's it. Game over potentially.
Well, he's going to emerge in fourth position behind the two Mercedes. Vettel is fighting with Mick Schumacher again. So those two have been squabbling all afternoon. Both have made 2 stops and they're running in 15th and 16th places. But the question now is going to be the Ferrari pace with Leclerc in fourth position. Verstappen leads. Second is Hamilton. Third is Russell. Fourth is Leclerc. Tsunoda's back in the pits. They changed some of the tyres. They put a set of soft tyres on. They're sorting out something on his steering wheel as well. So maybe it was a steering wheel issue. Well, actually, they're not. They're kind of pulling his belts. Where are they reaching there?
It looks like his belts, yeah. Maybe his belts were not tight, but I mean, tightening the belt doesn't take that much time.
No, and tightening the belt also wouldn't. A loose belt wouldn't make you think a wheel had come off also. So very curious stuff. So Tsunoda pulls out. So they were messing around in the cockpit for a while. Lap 47 of 72. Max Verstappen leads, but Lewis Hamilton and George Russell have made their one and only pit stop, and they're now running in second and third places. Charles Leclerc is fourth in the Ferrari. He started in second, was quite close to Verstappen in the early stages, but is now fourth. Has no more pit stops to make, but he's got to close the gap to the Mercedes drivers in front if he wants to finish even on the podium. So some more backwards movements from Ferrari over the course of this Grand Prix. 47 to 72, full commentary on Sports Extra. And Tsunoda is back out of the pits and still going very slowly. So something's gone here. Maybe could it be a power steering failure or something? And he is pulling off the circuit now at is that a marshal's post just behind? I think it is. But we could get the virtual safety car that they all wanted initially. Really, I've never seen such a weird thing for Tsunoda here.
Yeah, he never even accelerated properly out of the pit lane. So, but yeah, if it's a virtual safety car now, it would be the worst timing for Leclerc.
Absolutely. George Russell setting the fastest lap of the race because Mercedes are getting ready to potentially pounce.
Well, this is actually now pretty perfect for Mercedes because I think if there's a safety car now, I guess that they just react in line with everybody else. And there is a virtual safety car. So let's see who is able to react. Leclerc's actually coming to the end of the lap now, but it's a bit too late. It's too late for him.
Yeah, virtual safety car deployed. The only positive for Leclerc would be if it went to a full safety car, the field got back up and he would have slightly newer hard tyres than the Mercedes team. So Yuki Tsunoda's car getting cleared under the virtual safety car, which fundamentally imposes a form of speed limit on the circuit. So Verstappen leading, Hamilton second, Russell third, Leclerc fourth, fifth is Perez, sixth is Norris, seventh is Alonso, eighth is Ocon. Alonso hasn't got to stop again either, so that's interesting. Norris is pitting from sixth place, so we'll keep an eye on that one. Alonso is pitting also in the Alpine. Then it is Ocon in 8th, 9th for Sainz, 10th for Stroll. Oh, he had to be held quite a while there, did Norris, because Alonso was coming in. It's a slow pit stop for Alonso as well. Stroll in 10th. Carlos Sainz has now dropped down to 9th position. Jenny?
Yeah, lots of activity in the pit lane. Red Bull have now come out as well. So all of those hard guys that we thought might, the Alpines and Norris, who were on the hard tyre, they thought maybe they could last till the end. This virtual safety car means they don't have to. In comes the race leader, Max Verstappen. He's got a set of I can't see where he's going with his tyres. I think it might have been a new set of hard tyres that he's put on. Mediums for Mercedes. They've come out and reacting to this as well. They're going to double stack. They've got 2 sets of tyres waiting to go. First in, Lewis Hamilton. They bolt the tyres onto his car. They put on a medium set of tyres. Good stop. Then George Russell comes in straight away. It's such a beauty to watch. Lift the car up. On go the tyres. It's the medium, slightly slower stop, but he's still out. Really responsive from Mercedes.
Yeah, that's great stuff from Mercedes. That's what they're so good at, as the Mercedes now rejoin the circuit. Hamilton is still going to be in that second position. Russell is still going to be ahead of Leclerc, who is in 4th position, lap 49 of 72. Verstappen leads. Here's Hamilton's radio.
Let's go, guys. It's a good pit stop, man. Thank you.
Hamilton loving life out there.
He's excited now. He sees where they are, so he's confident for the rest of the race.
Switching to the mediums it makes plain sense from Mercedes. They're now absolutely sorted versus the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc behind. He was on the fresher set of hards. They now have a set of tyres that will easily go to the end of the Grand Prix, and they still have time in the pocket. That double stack is one of those things where if you're trying to explain to someone who hasn't seen it, it's really difficult to explain why it's so impressive, but it's just this amazing bit of F1 choreography that you see very rarely, and when you do see it and it comes off, it just looks spectacular.
Lap 49 of 72. That's Scott Mitchell-Mum, journalist for TheRace.com, alongside Beitske Visser, W Series racer, and myself, Jack Nichols. Down in the pit lane is Jenny Gow, still under virtual safety car at the moment. Virtual safety car not ending just yet as they clear Yuki Tsunoda's car away, Jenny.
Couldn't have been worse timing, could it, for Ferrari? They'd just pitted both of their drivers onto hard tyres, new hard tyres. Then they thought there might be a virtual safety car. There wasn't. And then there actually was the virtual safety car. I mean, you couldn't make it up, could you? I don't think Leclerc can get any luck at all, not even bad luck.
Lap 50 of 72. Cameron pointed out on hashtag BBC F1, is there a chance that when Tsunoda stopped the first time, he undid his belts thinking his race was over, then they sent him back to the pits, and then that's why they had to then tighten them or something like that?
I think that could be the only option, yeah, because the belts don't just undo themselves. So, yeah, there has to be something done.
Virtual safety car is ending, and Lance Stroll is getting racy on the back of Fernando Alonso. They're fighting over 9th place, so Stroll has got up into 10th position. He's made 2 stops, so I think he is there on merit. Started inside the top 10, Lance Stroll. Couldn't quite get the power down coming out of the chicane to make the move on Fernando Alonso, but the race is back underway. Everybody has made their pit stops, and Verstappen is the man in the lead of the race, 12.6 seconds ahead of Russell. 12.6 seconds ahead of Hamilton. Hamilton is 3.6 seconds ahead of Russell, 4.4 seconds back to Leclerc in 4th place. 5th is Perez. Ocon is doing well in 6th position in the Alpine, so we'll see where he can end up in this Grand Prix. Esteban Ocon started 12th on the grid, so he's having a very nice afternoon. Still has only made 1 pit stop, and he's on the same strategy that Alonso was on, although Alonso rolled the dice, didn't he, and came in for a second pit stop and a set of soft tyres, and that's when Norris has lost out a little bit as well. He's come in for a set of softs and is down to 8.
VSC stuffed us.
Hamilton's saying the virtual safety car has stuffed us. Not quite sure why.
Because I think he had ambitions on fighting Verstappen. I think he thought.
Really?
I think if the races played out the way it was looking, I think he was so confident about maintaining the pace on the hard tyre, Verstappen would have pit and rejoined behind. I think that Hamilton just chipping away, and I think he just sniffed the chance to even fight for a win. Whereas now, fairly safe second place, but when Hamilton hasn't had a really racy car much this year, has he? So when he's got one, I think he's just hanging on to any percentage chance he thinks of a victory.
Obviously, this looks bad for Ferrari, Biska, but you know, there was the strategy problem with Sainz. Here's some more Hamilton radio.
So wear on stint 1 was good. This is going to be a shorter stint, lighter fuel, so happy to push.
Hamilton being told he can push on the radio by Pete Bonington, his race engineer. But does it come down really with Ferrari that in the race today they just don't have the pace? What strategy could they have done? They don't have the sort of tyre management and the ultimate speed to be finishing in second position.
I mean, yeah, they just copied Verstappen. I mean, they didn't really have the option to start on medium because the only chance would be off the line, and softs should just have more grip. So they didn't have the option to start on medium, and then Mercedes did, and the pace is very similar, but it seems the medium, starting on the mediums was the quicker strategy, so then it was just a strategy difference.
52 of 72, 21 to go in the Dutch Grand Prix. Max Verstappen leading, Hamilton in second place. Jenny?
Yeah, and with 21 laps to go, Esteban Ocon is on the hardest tyre, and he's been doing 32 laps out there, so they are kind of stinky old tyres. Let's see how far he can go. Latifi's done 23 laps, but he's right towards the back of the field in 19th. Ocon's in 6th. Just to run through who's on what, Verstappen is on the hard tyre, Hamilton, Russell on the medium tyre, all 3 laps old. Leclerc is on the hard at 6 laps old. Perez on 10 lap old hard tyres, and that is your top 5.
And 2 drivers on the softs, Norris in 8th and Alonso in 9th, and this is about to get fun because the Alpine driver is right behind the McLaren driver. They're both only 1.5 seconds back from Carlos Sainz, who they did a similar lap time on the last lap, but Sainz is out on the hard, so Norris and Alonso could potentially close in on the Ferrari man, but Alonso first is going to want to get ahead of Lando Norris, and Alonso's got to be the worst person to see in your mirrors, surely, on the F1 grid.
Yeah, if he gets a chance, he will definitely go for it. Also, the Alpine is very quick on the straight, so, you know, if they're anywhere near, they're going to have a run.
And with Ocon running in 6th place, McLaren were really confident coming into this weekend. Lando Norris, Alpine were actually pretty worried about McLaren's pace. They went well in Hungary, which is a sort of similar circuit to here, certainly similar demands on the car. Norris said we're expecting better things than in Spa, but it couldn't have gone much worse for them in Spa. But now Ocon's running 6th, and Fernando Alonso is attacking Lando Norris down into the first corner, and he tries to send it round the outside, and Norris just runs him out of room, and a couple of wheels in the gravel for Alonso. That was a bit of a brave one from Alonso, and I don't know, I expected a little different from a man so experienced to try and send it like that around the outside. It was ambitious.
Yeah, I think your only chance around the outside there is if you're fully alongside, and you have to make sure your front wheels in front of theirs on the outside, because otherwise something like this happens where the guy on the inside will just force you wide.
That's exactly right, especially with the driving standards, the guidelines that were introduced for this year, placing so much emphasis on the positioning of the cars at the apex of the corner. Alonso came from just a bit too far back, and it's rude from Lando. It's sort of the established way of running someone out of road on the outside. F1 moved away from this a little bit, especially last year, but it's back. It's a bit of a dark art when it comes to wheel-to-wheel racing, but I think you're taught that from a very young age in karting, and Norris might be a lot younger than Alonso, but he still knows how to race.
Yeah, very true. Max Verstappen leads the Dutch Grand Prix. He's 12 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton in second place. Russell is now 2.4 seconds back from Hamilton. He's having great pace here, George Russell. Charles Leclerc is 4th, and 15-1 on that last lap because he's on those hard tyres, and he's over a second slower. Hamilton, he went 6/10 quicker than Verstappen on the last lap, but I don't think that's going to be enough to get involved in the fight for the win. Leclerc is 4th, Perez is 5th, Ocon in 6th in the Alpine is only a second ahead of Carlos Sainz, and Sainz is closing in. Norris is closing in on Sainz as well. So they're all kind of concertinaing up behind Esteban Ocon in that 6th position. And I started mentioning it a little bit earlier, but McLaren were really confident coming into this weekend. Norris qualified well and was sort of best of the rest, but it's Alpine at the moment who are looking like scoring the most points in that fight, although Ocon is under pressure here from Carlos Sainz as they come into the chicane at turns 11 and 12. This is going to be a nice fight, I think, and Ocon knows that just 2 cars back is Lando Norris coming at him. Oh, and slowing is Bottas. Down the start-finish straight, Valtteri Bottas has pulled over to the side of the circuit. Could be a full safety car because there's no obvious exit point for Valtteri Bottas, and there's a yellow flag out there just as Sainz goes to the inside of Ocon. He really, I think, will need to give that place back because you're not allowed to overtake when there's a yellow flag out, and Sainz has taken the position away from Esteban Ocon pretty clearly under a yellow flag zone. Well, unless the marshals hadn't got the yellow flag out in time, but that seems like not a great move from Carlos Sainz. He's up into the 6th place. Ocon is 7th, Norris is 8th. Here's Sainz's radio.
I think I was ahead by the yellow flag. Check, if not I let him by, but I don't know. Check. Yeah, checking.
Okay, so Sainz basically saying, yeah, I think I overtook him under a yellow flag, but check, because he doesn't want to give it back, and then he didn't need to give it back because that was a waste of time.
Yeah, I guess he was looking at both Alonso and the car stopped, so he was focused on that, trying not to hit it. So, but I think he has to give it back.
We need to let him by, let Ocon by. Lando right there. Come on.
Well, this is going to be tough here for Sainz. Now, Sainz is coming into, well, the team are getting ready in the pits at Ferrari. Still only a yellow flag for Bottas's car. Sainz is going to be in a bit of a tricky position here as in how he's going to let the Ferrari through, and it is full safety car deployed. Safety car deployed because of the and they all have to hammer on the brakes down into the first corner. Alonso locking up. So full safety car deployed. It'll go out at the front of the field. All of the gaps will get closed in. And Verstappen's going to pick, because I was just about to say, can Hamilton win this Grand Prix? Now, if they stay out, they could take the lead of the Grand Prix here, Mercedes. Mercedes are getting ready in the pits as well, but Max Verstappen now into the pit lane, comes into the pits. A new set of tyres are coming on, Jenny.
Yeah, they've got the soft tyres ready to go. Verstappen heads out. They're ready to double stack once again at Mercedes. So let's see what they can do this time round. Maybe a decision has been made not to double stack, actually. I think Lewis has decided to stay out because the tyres are now going back in. No pit stop at Mercedes. They're going to play the game here. Verstappen's rolled the dice. Red Bull have rolled the dice.
Hamilton leads the Grand Prix. It's a Mercedes 1-2. Hamilton ahead of George Russell. Verstappen is now down into 3rd position. So that is the race order with no more pit stops expected, but Verstappen will have fresh, soft tyres compared to the 2 Mercedes on the mediums. Leclerc has come into the pits, Sergio Perez has come into the pits as well as they make their way back out onto the circuit, but it is now a Mercedes 1-2 at the front of the Grand Prix. And, well, that's interesting that Red Bull decided to give up track position, Beitska.
I think they're confident on being able to overtake again, but also they probably expected Mercedes to pit as well. But you could see like Verstappen coming out of the pits next to Russell. Russell was just flooring it to be in front of the safety car line.
Yeah, they were really, really close there. Well, this is fascinating because Verstappen has got obviously pace, very, very quick, but is he going to have enough of an advantage over the Mercedes to pass them both, Scott?
The key thing there for Mercedes is that Russell did get out ahead, so Hamilton has that buffer, and even if Russell can only stay ahead for 1 lap, 2 laps, maybe he can buy a bit of time, because it will be in those first couple of laps where Hamilton's got to get the tyres up to temperature that he will be most vulnerable to Verstappen on the softs.
It's the sound of a Alfa Romeo breaking down as Valtteri Bottas came down the start-finish straight. Lost the engine. Carlos Sainz, meanwhile. Well, Mercedes are now running 1st and 2nd. Lewis Hamilton ahead of George Russell. There's a safety car because Valtteri Bottas broke down. Max Verstappen pitted from the lead, so he's now in 3rd place. So Mercedes are running 1-2 on the road. Verstappen needs to overtake them on track if he wants to win his home Grand Prix. And Alonso nearly hitting the back of Lando Norris. Still, into the pits comes Hamilton, Jenny.
Yeah, he's coming to the pits. He's not stopped that. Everyone coming through the pit lane now. They've closed off the start-finish straight. George Russell is missing out here because he's had to hold on before he can go out. Mick Schumacher was the car to come through. I think Hamilton did the right thing to stay out. He was ready to come in, but everybody trails through. They were able to stop for the pit stop for Russell, not for Hamilton.
Yeah, because the Alfa Romeo has stopped on the start-finish straight, they are sending the cars through the pit lane so they can clear it up quicker. Also into the pits comes Carlos Sainz, or rather they're all into the pits, but into his pit box comes Sainz. Hamilton then will lead, and it's going to be a bit of contact on the way out. Sainz is going to get done surely for an unsafe release in front of Fernando Alonso in the Alpine, so that could be more trouble for Carlos Sainz, who never actually gave that position back to Esteban Ocon, so that could be a penalty incoming as well, because saying, well, we pitted to give the place back is a bit of a difficult one to pull off. So Hamilton leads the Grand Prix. Verstappen will be second on the restart on the softs. Russell will be third on the restart on softs. Very interesting that Mercedes have kind of done what Verstappen did and gave away the track position for Russell to be on the soft tyres.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting them to do that anymore, but...
and Russell was really, really annoyed at how slow Nicholas Latifi was going ahead of him.
Let's stop. Let's put the soft on. Wait, I'm losing the tyre. I think we didn't put the soft on.
Stop. Box.
So that's Russell being really decisive in the car there. That's impressive stuff.
Yeah, it's tricky in that moment to really be convinced about what you want. So, yeah, impressive from him to be so directive.
I exited well ahead of the Renault, but there was the McLaren guys in front and I couldn't turn.
That was Sainz's opinion on that moment. So, Scott, Mitchell Marm, how are you seeing this unfolding?
Well, I think Russell has... Maybe he's made that call based on the tyre temperatures dropping a bit too much under the safety car, maybe a bit too worried that he just wouldn't be able to get that back when he got going again. But it's left Hamilton, it's certainly vulnerable to Verstappen, not necessarily a sitting duck. The mediums aren't exactly much older. They're a few laps older than Verstappen softs. It's just about whether or not he can get them up to temperature and protect himself at the start. The start of the stint after the restart is going to be absolutely key.
It was not unsafe. I just saw on the cameras it's not unsafe. The other car exaggerated the braking. He saw me exiting. Clearly, I'm seeing it on the cameras. If they give me a penalty for that, it's totally fake.
So, Carlos Sainz, he's watched the replay on the big screens as he's driving around the circuit, and I think his argument is, we're just getting another replay of it, that he had to slow down because of the McLaren mechanics and stuff, and then the other car has accelerated into him to try and get a penalty. And because when they're going through the pit lane at that point, maybe they're not going at the full pit lane speed limit, potentially, because you're behind the safety car anyway. What do you make of it?
I think his exit from the box was definitely slower than normal because the car in front. But to me, that definitely looks like an unsafe release, because you cannot accelerate in the pit lane. They are at 60 or 80 constant. So
I think it depends on where, I guess, you define the rejoin or the release, because the release itself, maybe there probably was space for him to get going, but it did look like a really slow pull away from Sainz, and that's what caused the problem. So it's normally the team that's responsible for the release, but it was Sainz's part in that, reacting to the car in front, that slowed it down. Maybe that is what will ultimately get him the penalty. It's up to the stewards to decide.
Well, a safety car with Hamilton leading and Verstappen behind him on soft tyres in the closing stages of a Grand Prix, getting a few Abu Dhabi flashbacks to the end of last season, but there's not quite as much of a tyre difference this time around. 5 laps the difference between Hamilton's mediums and Verstappen's softs, and well, it's certainly a big lock-up from Hamilton as he comes across the line. Here's his radio.
It'll be hard to keep that car behind me guys now.
Yeah, copy Lewis, but yeah, let's give it everything.
Safety car will be ending at the end of this lap. Hamilton saying it's going to be hard to keep him behind, and Tim saying, yeah, no, we know.
I don't think Lewis is particularly happy that the other car has pitted. I can't imagine he feels that is in his best interest, and he will therefore see it as the team's best interest to win the Grand Prix. Have the 2 cars in front of the Red Bull. One moving aside just makes it a bit easier for Max. Obviously, Russell is the one who pushed for that. Mercedes obviously looked into it. They wouldn't have just done it just because Russell asked. So they clearly think that there is something to fight for here still, but it makes life a lot harder for Hamilton.
Well, Max Verstappen walked away with the Grand Prix last year. He looked fully in control this season as well, but Mercedes' pace combined with a safety car for Valtteri Bottas breaking down means that the Dutch fans, who are all now raising onto their feet in the grandstand in front of us, are going to get quite the spectacle. And if they want their man to win the Grand Prix, he's going to have to overtake, of all people, Lewis Hamilton, after the rivalry that evolved through the season in 2021. That is about to be rekindled as they come down into the final couple of corners, and then the safety car will come in and the race will get underway. Here comes the encouragement from the Dutch fans as Verstappen comes through, cheering their man on. When will Hamilton decide to do the restart? Is it going to be early or late? We know that the Red Bull is very, very quick in a straight line. Hamilton weaving from left to right, waiting to floor the throttle. Verstappen is right behind him. Russell is right behind Verstappen. And Hamilton goes there. And Hamilton gets a good restart. And George Russell hasn't got a great one. And actually, Max Verstappen has come with Hamilton quite well, and he's going to get the lead straight away. They're side by side, coming down towards the first corner. Hamilton on the inside, Verstappen on the outside. Hamilton keeps it on the inside line, but Verstappen drives all the way around the outside and is back into the lead of the Dutch Grand Prix almost instantly after he lost it. Verstappen leads, Hamilton second, Russell third, fourth is Leclerc. Fifth is Sainz in all of this. He's managed to haul himself back up into a net decent position. I think he overtook Sergio Perez at the restart. Sainz overtook Perez at the restart and is up into fifth place. Perez down to sixth. Seventh is Alonso. Eighth is Norris. Ninth is Ocon. 10th is Lance Stroll. Outside of the points, it's Gasly, Albon, Schumacher, Vettel, Magnussen, Joe, Ricciardo, Latifi. But, well, Verstappen was not wasting any time there, was he, Weizke?
Yeah, he's always very strong on restarts, so he was very close coming out of the last corner, and yeah, the Red Bull is always very strong on straight line speed, so yeah, that was pretty clear that he was going to go past.
Huge cheers from the grandstands as he comes down into the chicane. Managed to pull alongside Hamilton. I wondered if Hamilton was going to go a little deeper onto the brakes into Tarzan, but Verstappen got the move done around the outside, and he is back into the lead of the Grand Prix as we are about 12 laps to go now. Verstappen across the line, and he's got great pace here. 1.7 seconds up the road from Hamilton already. Hamilton and Russell is going to be an interesting fight now in second and third place. Can Leclerc get back involved in this fight and back onto the podium, because he is on the soft tyres? We've got a lot to unfold in these last 11 laps.
I don't really understand why Mercedes have left Hamilton out on the mediums. If you're going to pit Russell and give up that track position to Verstappen to be on the softs, because this is effectively a similar version to what Ferrari did to Leclerc at Silverstone, where they left him vulnerable at the start on a worse, slower set of tyres. I guess it's
they're trying to win the race, Scott. They're trying to win the race, not poodle around for second. That was a gamble, wasn't it?
But I don't think you can realistically expect to win the race if you're switching to a slower compound with a faster car behind you.
It's worth a try. Worth a try. Jenny?
Yeah, Lewis did not make the call about those tyres. We heard George Russell on the radio saying, I want to stop. The team made the decision to protect track position for the chance of winning. Otherwise, they'd have given the win to Max regardless. This way, at least he could fight it out, although it obviously didn't work out.
Can't just play it safe every race, Scott.
I think it's less about playing it safe and more the aggressive. That's the thing. The aggressive move would have been, okay, well, let's match him. Let's pass him on track, because we think we will have the pace to do that on the other tyres. You're leaving yourself so vulnerable. And the radio message we can see from Hamilton suggests that he agrees.
Yes, Hamilton has said that was the biggest bleep up. So he's not particularly impressed, Hamilton, out there. So that's quite interesting. That'll certainly be something that gets dissected within the Mercedes team. They're actually really good, Mercedes, at doing post-race strategy videos on their YouTube channel, which is really fascinating stuff to watch. They have sort of their technical director or their strategist James Vowles getting involved and explaining exactly why they did things, when things go right or wrong. So that'll be a good watch this week. And now they need to decide what to do with Russell and Hamilton, because Russell has the quicker tyres, and are they going to let them race? What do you reckon?
That will be a tricky one. I mean, I guess they can't let Russell be held up too much, but as soon as the DRS opens, if he's in this distance, it will be quite easy for him to pass as well.
Yeah, he's going to get the move here. George Russell out onto the start finish straightened. Hamilton with a really late defence, and Russell got really close to the back of him. Hamilton tries to keep it round the outside. Russell makes the move and is up into second position. The two Mercedes swap positions. Russell into second, Hamilton into third. That wasn't team orders, and goodness, my heart was going there. That was a bit of a move on the straight, wasn't it?
I think Russell definitely had to lift off a bit there.
I can't believe you guys man. I can't tell you right now.
Well, he's doing his best to tell them how annoyed he is on the radio, and now Leclerc is going to be trying to close in on the back of Hamilton. So Hamilton all of a sudden could be sliding back to maybe fourth, maybe fifth, maybe even sixth position. Just getting a replay of that move from Russell when he went to the inside and he nearly had to dart back the other way. Oh, goodness me. That was a tight one from Hamilton and Russell as they came over the start, finished straight at 190 miles an hour. Jenny, Russell now up into second place.
And doesn't he just look like a master right now? He's making decisions on every race. He's making a call, and then this call, he's made one that looks to be the absolute perfect call. And now Hamilton's there furious, getting gobbled up by the rest of the field.
Yeah, here comes Charles Leclerc fighting for third place. Can Leclerc get back onto the podium? He goes to the outside of Hamilton, but he hasn't quite got the grip to go around the outside of Tarzan Bocht at turn 1. Now they come into the left-hander, the banked left-hander of turn 3, Hugenholtz, and then heading down towards the fast sweepers, and Hamilton could be losing out on a podium finish here after looking like he was going to be in the lead of the Grand Prix, and he was in the lead of the Grand Prix for a while, but now a sort of dead certain second place seems to be slipping away. Sainz is in fifth, still only just ahead of Sergio Perez in their fight over that position. Perez is less than a second away. Norris is half a second back from Fernando Alonso, and now Alonso has dropped out of DRS range of Perez. The fight could be on for 7th position. Ocon has ended up down in 9th place because they did pit him in the end for some soft tyres. He was trying to make the hard tyre work for a one-stop strategy, but that has slipped away now for Ocon because of the safety car, but he's still running in 9th place with Lance Stroll in 10th. Here comes Leclerc through the final corner at Arie Luyendyk, half a second behind Hamilton. The fight is on as they thunder down towards the first corner. Leclerc's got a good run this time, goes to the outside, onto the brakes into Tarzan, and he is up into third place. The Ferrari driver gets ahead of the Mercedes and is now into third position. So it's Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari up at the front. Verstappen, Russell, Leclerc, Hamilton in fourth. The good news for Hamilton, to sort of look for silver linings, Sainz and Perez don't seem to be super quick, so he might be able to hold on to this fourth place with 7 laps to go.
Yeah, I think the further we get into the end, it's also the softs will not be that much quicker anymore than the mediums.
Lap 66 of 72. Max Verstappen leading, 3 seconds ahead of George Russell in second place. Leclerc in third, Hamilton in fourth. Hamilton actually still in DRS range of Leclerc at the moment, less than a second away. Perez is in DRS range of Carlos Sainz, who's running in 5th position. The sound you can hear is the Honda engine that powers Perez's Red Bull through the right-hander of 11, then through the left-hander of turn 12, but it's going to be a little bit far back, although the Red Bull does have a lot of straight-line speed, as we've mentioned a few times. Verstappen comes past the commentary box, followed by Russell, followed by Leclerc, followed by Hamilton, and then it is the Red Bull and the Ferrari down towards Tarzan. Perez is a little bit too far back. Norris is on the attack as well, trying to get Fernando Alonso in their fight over 7th position, and he's not quite able to do it, although he's tucked right underneath. Alonso had a really slow exit from turn 1, holds on to 7th place at the moment. Plenty of battles going on here. Lap 67 of 72, closing stages of the Dutch Grand Prix, the 15th round of the Formula 1 World Championship. This would see Max Verstappen extend his lead at the top of the standings as he begins to romp to an 8th world title. But very fun race this afternoon, and good overtaking actually by Sky, which is something that wasn't sure about when Formula 1 was coming back here. Last year it wasn't great, but they made some changes and it's been good today.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would have expected this many overtakes. The earlier DRS is definitely helping as well, but apart from that we even see some overtakes in different corners as well.
Lap 67 of 72. Verstappen leading, Russell second, Leclerc third, Hamilton fourth, Sainz fifth, Perez sixth, still just behind Carlos Sainz. Alonso and Norris are fighting it out over 7th and 8th. Stroll is fairly close to the back of Esteban Ocon as well. Can Perez, with 5 laps to go as they come across the line this time, get ahead of Carlos Sainz? He has some support as well from the Dutch fans in the grandstand, mainly for being Verstappen's teammate. Again, he's just a little bit too far back, noses towards the inside and can't quite get it done. Norris isn't attacking Alonso this time either. Hamilton has dropped to 1.3 seconds back from Charles Leclerc, but Sainz and Perez won't be catching Hamilton here.
I'll be very interested to know exactly what it is that Hamilton is annoyed about. Is he annoyed that they just didn't keep out Russell as a buffer? Is he annoyed that he didn't get moved onto a set of softs, for example? I think he only had used available, but that's fine. There's still perfectly valid tyres to go onto. But whatever happens, he has just slipped down the order as a result of exactly how Mercedes played this. And honestly, I think if they put him on a set of softs, I think he would have been at least the podium. I don't think he would have necessarily beaten Verstappen, but he could have taken the fight instead of just looking in his mirrors and falling back.
So is that what are you annoyed about? What do you hear Sainz's radio?
I have so much tech overheating on this tire. Understood.
And Sainz also has a 5-second time penalty for that unsafe release, so that could end up putting him behind Perez, behind Alonso, behind Norris. It could drop him out of the points here, Carlos Sainz. I mean, we've still got 4 laps to go, but a 5-second penalty here would take him up to 17.5 seconds. So yeah, he'd be maybe in 10th place, Carlos Sainz, so not ideal. But yeah, what do you hypothesize Verstappen Hamilton is particularly irate about?
Well, I think if you're going to veer away from that, let's have the cars run 1 and 2 and then just try and keep Verstappen at bay. Do it for both cars, because otherwise you're just sort of caught between the 2 strategies, which doesn't really make sense. So I think just that opportunity to, if you either commit to the both stay out, protect track position, don't leave someone vulnerable, or you go on the offensive, and on the offensive is to switch to the softs. This way, look at the pace that Hamilton has on the mediums. Neither Hamilton or Russell were going to keep Verstappen behind on the mediums. The only option really to be aggressive would have been to go both cars on the softs.
And even then, Russell is 4 seconds back from Max Verstappen. Here's Esteban Ocon's radio.
Sainz has a 5-second penalty, 4 laps to go, push like hell.
So that's Ocon being told 3.5 laps to go, push, and then you can try and get a position, because when Carlos Sainz's 5-second time penalty is applied. Jenny Gao.
Yeah, just looking as it stands, Verstappen would collect 26 points. He has fastest lap to his name as well. He'd be on 310 points, 109 ahead of Charles Leclerc. That's a lot.
Certainly is. Perez has just been pushed out wide by Carlos Sainz, so I don't know whether Sainz hasn't been told, Perez hasn't been told about Sainz's penalty, because he tried to go all the way around the outside at Tarzan, got pushed off onto the gravel, and now he's under pressure from Fernando Alonso in the Alpine. Lap 70 of 72, and I was quite surprised to see Perez attacking Sainz there, considering the penalty.
Yeah, I mean, he did exactly the same as what Alonso did, just not quite far enough next to it, but maybe he thinks he still has a shot at getting Hamilton as well, so that's why he wants to attack.
Yeah, very true. He's 4 seconds back though, with a couple of laps to go, and you're absolutely right. It was just like the Alonso one, where he sort of floated it to the outside a little bit and then got pushed out wide onto the gravel, and Sainz manages to hold the place for now. Here's Perez's radio.
He pushed me off. Yeah, copy.
Simple, really, in his Perez's opinion, and he's now under big pressure from Alonso and from Norris. Now, okay, without banging on about it, that Red Bull has a lot of straight line speed, so keeping Alonso and Norris behind could be doable. Verstappen is on the penultimate lap of the race, lap and a half to go in Zandvoort, and he is going to extend his championship lead yet again with another victory this season for Max Verstappen. It's been a superb run of form. 3 races, going to be 4 races in a row, this victory for Max Verstappen that he will have won. And he's won so many this season. Saudi Arabia, Imola, Miami, Spain, Baku, Canada, France, Hungary and Belgium, and then heading to Italy in a week's time, where we're expecting Red Bull to be pretty strong again, considering their Straight line speed, is that all I talk about? Sorry, everybody. Verstappen is about to start his final lap of the Grand Prix. And the first, I don't know, 5 or 6 laps, you thought maybe we're in for a fight here. Maybe Leclerc can keep in the gap and keep the fight going on. But since then, Verstappen's been completely in control.
Yeah, I think they've just been way stronger on tyre management. In general, all the races we've seen so far, Ferrari has been able to keep up through the first couple of laps, but then once the tyre degradation gets in, they start to drop off.
Final lap of the Grand Prix now for Max Verstappen. Even when he had a Mercedes in front of him of Lewis Hamilton, he made light work of that immediately on the restart as well, which was mightily impressive from the Dutchman, who, despite breaking down on the 8th lap of free practice 1 on Friday, which maybe seemed like a bit of a precursor for the weekend, there have been no such troubles subsequently for Verstappen. Took pole position by 0.02 of a second from the Ferraris, but has comfortably outraced them. He's coming through the chicane now, weaving his way out of turns 11 and 12, and now down to the final couple of corners. When the Dutch Grand Prix returned to Zandvoort last season, Verstappen won in dominant fashion, and he's going to do the Dutch double here out of the final corner. Checkered flag falls, and it is race victory for Max Verstappen again at his home circuit. Over 100,000 Dutch fans are delighted. Verstappen scores another 25 points, and his lead now looks completely unassailable at the top of the championship. Second across the line for George Russell, third for Charles Leclerc, Mercedes and Ferrari both on the podium as well. The checkered flag falls, Verstappen wins again, another dominant performance. The Dutch fans are elated, and Verstappen wins in the Netherlands. Hamilton fourth across the line.
Another majestic drive, let's call it that today. Well done, Max.
Yes! Well, they threw everything at us, but we made the right call, so very lovely result out, guys.
Well done, mate, that was a mega drive, and take this lap in and enjoy every minute of it. So, yeah, difficult strategic race, but we've made all the right calls. Well done, mate.
Yeah, we did very well, congrats, guys.
And now all the flares that people have smuggled in are going off in the grandstands, which is, I mean, obviously flares not allowed, but none went off at the start of the race, none went off during the Grand Prix, which was lovely to see. But now on the closing cool down lap, the grandstands are getting absolutely drenched in orange smoke, and this is a time where Verstappen can really enjoy this.
Yeah, I think now the flare should be allowed.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone minds anymore. Yeah, after Max winning his home Grand Prix, yeah, the fans are going completely crazy, and yeah, this is everything they all want.
Yeah, absolutely. The breeze off the North Sea blowing the smoke across the grandstands as Verstappen makes his way through the orange haze into the sort of stadium section, I suppose, this sequence of corners at turns 11 and 12, and every single person in that grandstand is on their feet with their arms in the air, waving at the two Red Bulls who are coming around almost together for a sort of photo finish sort of vibe. Russell finishing in second. Here's his radio.
And that's the flat P2. Oh, well done, top job today. Very, very good. Very good stuff.
Very good effort. We've had a very fast race car this weekend. Let's keep on pushing, building from this.
Yeah, keep delivering. This is good stuff.
Top job for Russell. Verstappen comes back into the pit lane now. He cruises around in front of the huge grandstand opposite us. He's waving to them, and the atmosphere here, Jenny, is quite stunning.
Isn't it just? I can hardly see 5 meters in front of me for the flare dust that's just coming out, the taste of it like a fireworks party in your mouth. The PK and Verstappen family just in front of me as Max pulls in, and this is some celebration. Jos just pumps his fist to say, that's my boy. And Verstappen, he's living his dream, isn't he? He's a world champion. He's on his way to a second world champion. He can do nothing but win races at the moment, and this in front of all the fans who stand up to watch what's going on, waving a few flags in front of them. is just the icing on the cake, isn't it? As Max Verstappen stands up on his car, everybody taking pictures of it. You can hear the applause, the fists are in the air. He's wearing a helmet dedicated to his father, who never won an F1 race, but now his helmet, in tribute to his dad and all the work they did together, has won, and he runs into the crowd. All of his waiting engineers and mechanics who celebrate. It's a real squash down here. I'm standing in between two of the kind of big wheel, the things that they use to lift the car up. He lifts the flag. Everybody in the grandstand on their feet is applauding it. He shakes his head as if this is a dream. He almost can't believe it. Last year he celebrated, but not in front of full grandstands. This time, 105,000 people are celebrating as he runs towards Kelly Piquet, gives her a massive cuddle, and then to his father. This is elation. This is what Formula One is all about.
Certainly is. I thought it would be a nice idea to open the commentary box window and get a bit of fresh air and experience the atmosphere, but it stinks in here now. A huge error. So Verstappen, though, taking the win, as you say, just high-fiving all of the mechanics and all of the engineers down there. He takes the victory. Russell second, Leclerc third. Hamilton finishing fourth with Sergio Perez in fifth. Alonso, Norris, Sainz, Ocon and Stroll the top 10. So Sainz ended up managing to finish in 8th place despite that 5-second time penalty. Gasly just missing out on the points in 11th spot, Albon in 12th. Frustration for Schumacher after qualifying so well. Dropped back after the first pit stop and then could never really recover. Had some nice fights with Sebastian Vettel in 14th place. 15th, Kevin Magnussen. Joe, Ricciardo and Latifi, the 18 runners. Bottas and Tsunoda retiring from the Grand Prix.
Adrian Newey just to my left, the familiar face, goes round to see if he can congratulate his boy Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen's mum's just in front of me, his sister there too as well. It's a real family affair when it comes to the Verstappen team. He is so delighted with this. He cannot believe that this is where the story is at the moment. He's over 100 points now in the lead of this championship, 109 points to be precise. It's such a commanding lead. Remember, this is only round 15. We still have 7 more races to go, and it seems like there is no one who can stop him. Strategy can't stop him. Safety can't stop him. Flares can't stop him. He's the unstoppable Max Verstappen.
Good race, though. I enjoyed that Grand Prix. Early stages, it looked like it might be that Verstappen would disappear, and obviously he did manage to control it fairly comfortably in the end, but very entertaining behind. The battle for George Russell was very good with Leclerc. So much to get into with the Hamilton strategy call at Mercedes, because I think just about 2 minutes before that I'd been banging on about how Mercedes never make any strategy mistakes, and we were going on about how their beautiful double-stacked pit stop was, but it didn't work out in the end for Hamilton. But now it's time to hear from the top 3, starting with the race winner, Max Verstappen for Red Bull. He's talking to David Coulthard.
Max, what a way to win your home Grand Prix. What a difference a week makes. You had to fight all the way.
Yeah, it was not a straightforward race, but yeah, we had to push the whole race. We, of course, with safety car, virtual safety car, making the right calls. Always a bit of a question mark, but it worked out really well. Once we got back to the soft tires, we had great pace again.
At any point during the race, did you ever doubt? Because it looked like Lewis Hamilton with track position. Had Mercedes covered them off, then it could have been a different story.
Yeah, I mean, before that safety car, I thought it was okay to the end with the hard tires, even though we were a bit slower. But then, of course, yeah, the safety car came out. I was like, well, I don't think we're going to keep it up if we don't pit. So we went for the soft tires, but then, of course, I dropped back to third. Then George pitted as well. So I had a good run in the restart. We have a bit more top speed, so that helps to attack into turn 1. And yeah, from there onwards, we had a really good balance in the car again.
That restart with the safety car was crucial. I didn't expect you'd get the pass done at the restart, but that's where your full focus was.
Yeah, we timed it really well out of that last corner into the banking, and then you could see the draft was quite strong, and we got ahead. So yeah, incredible to win again.
Max, on the slowing down lap, there's fireworks, there's a sea of orange smoke. Can you put into words just what this victory means in comparison to all others?
It's always special to win your home Grand Prix. It was already last year. This year, I have to say, I had to work for it even more. So yeah, an incredible weekend, and I'm really happy we got the Dutch Grand Prix.
Quick word for your fans.
Unbelievable support, and I'm really happy But all of you guys came here to support me, so yeah, proud to be Dutch.
Enjoy. Congratulations. Max Verstappen, the winner of the Dutch Grand Prix. And George Russell, wow. You were a little bit out of place in qualifying. You never lost faith. You said you have a quick race car. Second place, congratulations.
Yeah, firstly, a huge thank you to all the crowd here. It's been an incredible reception, and it's a really special feeling for all of us drivers to come racing in Zandvoort and in Holland. So, thank you very much.
Now, George, you're going to be happy with that second place. Your teammate will feel that he was maybe a little bit out of position. When you passed him, there was a little, what was going on there? It almost looked like you were going to hit the back of him.
Yeah, we like to keep it close, always. But, I think as a team today, we showed incredible pace. I know that the team result wasn't quite what we hoped for, but this gives us a lot of confidence and a lot of faith moving forward. So I think it's incredible to see 3 different teams on the podium. And, we as Mercedes slowly getting closer to that top step. So let's keep on pushing. Yeah,
here. It shows just how competitive Formula One is. George, congratulations on your second place.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Charles Leclerc, congratulations, third place. Not, of course, the result you would have looked for from today, but the race just slipped away. Can you talk us through the key moments that saw you find yourself drop from second to third?
But to be honest, I mean, much better was difficult to do. We were a little bit unlucky with the VSC. I don't know if this will have changed anything. Max was too quick today. And then there was the Mercedes that were flying on the hard tires. We struggled to find the filling on those tires, so we'll analyze that. But yeah, it's a P3 for us today.
The battle with Lewis, fairly straightforward towards the end.
Sorry?
The battle with Lewis was fairly straightforward towards the end to secure the podium.
Yeah, I mean, Lewis was struggling a little bit. He was on a used set, had a bit more grip. We managed to overtake him, but they were still managing to keep those tires very well in the last lap. So it wasn't easy, but at the end we made it stick.
The gap increases in the championship. I know you take one race at a time, you never give up, but what is your feeling now in this championship challenge?
Well, I mean, as I said in Spa, now the gap is really big. So we'll take it race by race, try to maximize our potential, and let's see what's possible.
Okay, enjoy the podium.
Perfect.
Charles Leclerc.
Thank you very much.
So that is your top 3. It is Charles Leclerc, George Russell and Max Verstappen, and the fans here absolutely delighted. So many of them praying that their man could do it. Yesterday he got into pole position, and today he managed to win the race. He got the fastest lap as well, so 26 more points to go on to his total. It's a whopping lead now. It's mammoth, 109 points to his nearest rival. You heard him there, Charles Leclerc, saying, well, take it race by race. Well, there are plenty of races still to come. We have Italy next, then Singapore, Japan, the USA, Mexico, Brazil and Abu Dhabi. It's a case of if, not when. Maybe the engravers actually have started putting Verstappen on the trophy once again. That's how dominant he's been. But my word, what a race we got. Zandvoort was an absolute treat. We do like to be beside the seaside. You can download the Checkered Flag podcast a little bit later on, when myself, Beitske Visser, Scott Mitchell-Malm, probably not in the podcast, but we'll get Jolyon Palmer back potentially, and Jack Nicholls as well. So make sure you subscribe to that, and we'll have a preview of Monza next weekend ahead of the racing action, which will all be across the BBC Radio 5 Live network. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed us. Let us know what you thought. #BBC F1. My thanks to Scott, to Bitska, to Jack, to the whole team, to Jolyon as well. And we will see you next time out for Monza. This has been an IMG production for BBC Radio 5 Live.